Chapter 1. The nights after autumn were exceptionally cold. Every household in the mortal realm had long since shut their doors and shut their lights. Deep in the mountains and dense forests, thousands of demons gathered. For the first time, all the races put aside their grievances and appeared at the same time. Tigers, rabbits, foxes, snakes, all kinds of demons were present. For a moment, the entire forest was filled with the voices of all kinds of demons, big and small, soft and seductive. Above them sat 10 demon kings. These were the top experts of the demon realm. At this moment, a solemn expression appeared on their faces. "Demons, I'm sure you all know what has happened here recently," Yizichin said. The tiger race had always been strong. Tiger King was the first to speak, causing all the demons to quieten down. "We are all demons. Under such a crisis, I think all the races should put aside their prejudices and work together to solve the problem at hand. But this matter is too strange." Wolf King frowned. "Until now we still don't know who did it. What's the motive? Is there a need to guess?" Tiger King snorted. "Other than the cultivators of the 6 schools and 3 sects, who would do such a thing? All these years we have been slaughtered by them. But we have always been distinct from these immortal cultivation sections. Why would they suddenly block our path out of the realm?" Fox King looked puzzled. "That's right. These demons that came out of the realm at most went out to eat a few mortals. They did not eat the children of the 6 schools and 3 sections." Snake King also guessed. "There is no need for them to shed all pretense of cordiality, right?" "That's right." Leopard King was also indignant. "After so many years, which demon has not eaten a few mortals? Why would the 3 sects and 6 schools suddenly make things difficult?" "I don't think it's them." "That's right. Everyone knows that the demonic aura of our realm is harmful to their cultivation. That's why they never go near the border forest. Why would they specially guard here?" "But, other than the 6 schools and 3 sects, who else has the strength to kill all the demons that came out of the realm in 3 months? Tiger King still insisted on his own opinion. Eagle King nodded. As if recalling something, his feathers trembled. "I heard that all the demons that came out of the realm died without leaving any bones behind. Some were skinned and cooked. There are even dried corpses on the tree of shame in the forest. Such cruelty, they are worse than beasts. He's simply bullying demons too much." The Tiger King smashed the armrest of the stone chair and stood up angrily. "Fellow demon kings, I feel that rather than guessing who did it, why don't we kill our way out and get to the bottom of this? I don't believe that no matter how high their cultivation base is, they'll be able to stop the army of 10,000 demons." As soon as he said this, the other 9 monster kings immediately showed expressions of agreement. Indeed, rather than being fearful, it was better to take the initiative to attack. "That's right." The Deer King was the first to respond. "My son died at their hands. Instead of guessing here, why not go out and kill to our heart's content? So what if it's the 3 sects and 6 schools? When have we demons ever been afraid of them?" "Well said. Isn't that why we're gathered here today? No matter who he is, let's charge out and avenge our fallen brethren." Even the timid rabbit monarch stood up in response. The rabbit race had suffered the most casualties. "That's right. If I don't take revenge, I'll be a demon in vain. In the name of the demon souls of our clansmen, we swear to avenge them. Eradicate these people who are worse than beasts and return peace to our demon realm." For the demon realm, the other monster kings also stood up in response. Even the demons from various clans who were on standby revealed themselves and flashed their claws. They excitedly shouted the slogan of revenge, looking as though they were ready to set off. Instantly, all sorts of demon howls and wolf howls resounded through the clouds for a long time, until, a thin voice suddenly sounded among the demons. "I don't think there's a need to go." Amidst the raging crowd, a voice of objection suddenly sounded. Although it wasn't loud, it successfully attracted the attention of all the demons. The moment the shouting stopped, all the demons' gazes pierced over. "Who is it?" The Tiger King even roared as he searched for the cowardly demon. The demons searched everywhere, but despite being demons with the sharpest senses, they couldn't find the person who had spoken after a long time. Who was the one who just spoke? The Tiger King was a little angry. Where did this cowardly demon come from? If you have the guts, stand out. "I'm here." "Where?" The demons looked around a few more times, but still couldn't find the person who had spoken. "You're here." The voice sounded again. Left, that's not right. Past, a little to the right. Wrong, look here. The demons followed the voice and looked left and right a few times, but still couldn't find the person who had spoken. Sigh. Forget it, I'm here. Then, with a sigh, a figure suddenly climbed up the high platform where all the monster kings were sitting. Only then did the demons see the person who had spoken. It was a woman dressed in a gray robe. Her shoulders drooped weakly and her eyes were listless. Her entire person exuded a lazy aura. She was short and skinny, and her face was a little sallow. The word, weak, appeared in the minds of all the demons at the same time. Too weak. Even the demonic aura on her body was pitifully weak, as though any random breath of air from a demon could blow her away. It was no wonder that all the demons couldn't find this person after searching for so long. This kind of demon was really too inconspicuous. The hot-blooded Tiger King couldn't stand it anymore. He snorted and said fiercely, "Humph, you cowardly brat. Just a few cultivators and you're scared. You even turned into this." All demons could transform, but this was the Myriad Demon Conference. Hence, most of the demons here had revealed their original forms to distinguish themselves. Only she maintained her human form. This made the Tiger King even more displeased. "You don't dare to show your original form. What kind of demon are you?" "I'm human," the woman replied. "Transvestite?" The Tiger King was stunned. "What kind of demon is a transvestite? I've never heard of it." The woman's face twitched. "Hey, don't scold me. Why are all kinds of weak little demons here daring to participate in the Myriad Demon Conference?" The Tiger King glared at the woman indignantly. "You cowardly little demon, don't you dare spout nonsense here. You're affecting our morale when we go for revenge." "No, I'm serious." The woman raised her hand unrepentantly. Her shoulders drooped unconsciously, making her look even weaker. "There's really no need for you to go out and seek revenge. You're still saying such depressing words." The Tiger King was furious. He roared. "Do you believe that I won't eat you, little demon? Even if you eat me, there's no need for you to come here for nothing, right?" "What do you mean?" "What I mean is that the fellow you were talking about who killed all demons and was worse than beasts." She sighed. She patted her gray robes and raised her head. She still had that listless look on her face. However, she pointed at her own nose and said, "It could be me." "Myriad demons?" The entire place was silent for 3 whole seconds. Not a single sound could be heard. 3 seconds later, "Kill her." The myriad demons reacted and pounced at the woman at the same time. The woman still had that half-dead, half-alive look on her face. She let out a long sigh. "Little animals and whatnot, so troublesome." 5 minutes later, the ground was filled with demon corpses. Blood flowed like a river. The first and last Myriad Demon Conference had come to an end. Chapter 2. The originally noisy forest was so quiet that even the chirping of insects and birds had disappeared. The gray-robed woman's eyes were lifeless as she sat on a huge tiger carcass with a blank expression. She sat cross-legged and still looked weak. After sitting for a while, she sighed and muttered to herself, "Sigh? I'm so tired. Let's go home." After saying that, he slowly climbed down from the tiger's corpse. He rubbed his flat belly, feeling a little hungry. He looked around at the demon corpses of all kinds of races on the ground. "Since I'm out, why don't I have a midnight snack?" After some thought, she turned and walked towards the snow-white rabbit monarch on the right. Just as she was about to grab the rabbit's tail and drag it away, the corpse of the rabbit monarch suddenly exploded. It jumped up, but it did not escape. Instead, it turned around and kowtowed to her. "Exalted immortal, spare me. Exalted immortal, spare me. I was wrong. I failed to recognize you and offended you." The rabbit monarch's face was smeared with tears and snot as it kowtowed with all its might. Its entire body was shaking so hard that its fur was shaking in waves. "Were you pretending to be dead?" The woman blinked and squatted down in front of the rabbit. The rabbit monarch trembled even more violently. "Exalted immortal, spare me. I'm just a little rabbit monarch. I'm different from them. I eat grass and have never eaten a human before. I have old rabbits and young rabbits. I'm even pregnant with a nest of them. I can't die. I beg you to spare my life." It was too terrifying. It had never seen someone with such a high cultivation level. She looked weaker than a mortal, but she annihilated tens of thousands of demons in an instant. There were even 9 10th-level demon monarchs among them. Her moves were clearly unsystematic, but she could kill more than 10 demons with a single slap. The demons didn't even get to find out how strong she was before they were sent to the Yellow Springs. Too terrifying, too terrifying. It was no wonder that none of the demons that left the demon realm returned in the past 3 months. With such a powerful figure around, it would only be a matter of 2 to 4 hours if she wanted to annihilate the demons. "You're pregnant with a rabbit?" she suddenly asked. Yes, yes. The rabbit monarch nodded and subconsciously shrank its belly. Oh. The woman stared blankly for a moment, then suddenly nodded at it. Congratulations. Ah. The rabbit monarch was stunned and reflexively replied, Thank you? What did she mean? Could it be that he had designs on the child in his stomach? You've never eaten a human before? Really? It nodded furiously. I cultivate the path of vegetarianism. Look at the fur on my body, there isn't the slightest bit of blood or resentment. Oh, then you can go. She waved her hand cheerfully and even said, Go back and eat more grass. Give birth to a nest of vegetarian rabbits. The rabbit monarch was completely stunned as its eyes widened. You intend to let me off? Yeah. She nodded. After a while she added, Supper makes you fat. The rabbit monarch still couldn't believe that its life had been spared so easily. It looked at the other demon corpses on the ground and asked, Are you really not going to kill me? I don't have a hobby of torturing and killing small animals. Why would I lie to you? It didn't eat people. But the ones who died the most after leaving the demon realm were rabbits. The rabbit monarch covered his mouth halfway through his sentence. Over 100 demons had died in the past 3 months, and a third of them were rabbit demons. She didn't seem angry at all. Instead, she seemed to be seriously trying to recall. That seems to be the case. Then? Because bunny is delicious. What? What kind of stupid reason was that? Degree? Look. Venison is too tough, fox has a pungent smell, tiger is a protected animal after all, so I'm a little afraid to eat it, snake has a lot of bones. She counted with her fingers and finally concluded, So, you rabbits are still the best, delicious. The rabbit monarch felt tears welling up in his heart. So the reason why the rabbits had such a high casualty rate was because of the quality of the meat. It didn't want to taste good at all. Wait a minute. An almost ridiculous answer popped up in the rabbit monarch's mind. So, exalted immortal, you killed those demons to eat. She replied matter-of-factly. I have to live too. So the reason why the dead demons didn't even have their corpses was because they were all made into food? What happened to fasting and abstaining from food as a prerequisite for human cultivation? The 3 sects and 6 schools were a bunch of liars. Degree? Oh, it doesn't count this time. She suddenly thought of something and pointed at the demon corpses on the ground, adding, I live in the thatched cottage nearby. You guys didn't sleep at night and kept howling here, waking me up? You know, who doesn't have a bad temper after waking up, so I came over to take a look. So the thousands of demons died because they were too loud during the meeting? The rabbit monarch was shocked by this cruel truth. Seeing that the woman was about to turn and leave after the explanation, perhaps because of her casual tone, which was the complete opposite of her martial prowess, the rabbit monarch suddenly had a bold plan. Exalted immortal, please wait. As expected, she stopped in her tracks and turned around. Is there anything else? Exalted immortal. The rabbit monarch tried its best to suppress the fear in its heart. If exalted immortal lacks ingredients, I can be of help. My race has many rabbit demons and they are spread across a wide area. You can find any kind of food. Why don't? It glanced at her expression and swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Bracing itself, it continued, How about I deliver the ingredients you need to your residence every day? You can do that. The woman's eyes lit up before dimming a moment later. I don't have the money to order takeout. What the hell was takeout? Exalted immortal, what are you talking about? This humble one is offering it to you willingly. There's no need for spirit stones or silver. That would be so embarrassing. The woman suddenly blushed and scratched her head awkwardly. Wouldn't it be too troublesome? No. It's not troublesome at all. The rabbit monarch was overwhelmed by the favor and shook its head vigorously. Well, thank you then. It's only right. The rabbit monarch smiled in an ingratiating manner before gathering its courage and revealing its motive. Then, when my race enters and exits the demon realm in the future, can I ask you to be magnanimous and not kill us? Sure. She nodded without hesitation. As long as they don't eat humans. Exalted immortal, don't worry. They are all vegetarian demons. The rabbit monarch couldn't believe that she was so easy to talk to. Furthermore, she seemed rather polite. Then it's settled. From tomorrow onwards, I will deliver ingredients to the exalted immortal. Thank you for your hard work. Not at all. If there's nothing else, I'm going back to sleep. Take care, exalted immortal. Goodbye. Exalted immortal. Yes. I still don't know your title? Oh, my name is Shening. Take care, exalted immortal Shen. Chapter 3. By the time Shening returned to her straw hut, it was already midnight. She pulled back the blankets and lay down. She let out a long sigh of relief. It was finally quiet. It had been almost 4 months since she transmigrated here. She had no idea where this place was. There were strange trees everywhere. Due to her poor sense of direction, she wandered around the forest for a few days without seeing anyone. It was like living in the wilderness for a few days. When she was so hungry that her chest was sticking to her back, she finally met a few hunters who went up the mountain. They gave her a few sweet potatoes and temporarily comforted her stomach. They invited her to go down the mountain with them, but she rejected them when she thought that she might be able to transmigrate back. She returned to this straw hut, waiting to see when she could suddenly go back. Although this straw hut was so old that it looked like it could collapse at any time, it could shelter her from the wind and rain. After staying here for a few days, her shut-in nature broke out and she did not want to move. Who knew that she would stay here for nearly 4 months? She did not go back, but the sweet potatoes given by her fellow villagers were long gone. She had no choice but to go out and find something to eat. The forest was deep and dense. She could not tell what could be eaten and what could not. There were quite a lot of small animals, however, all of them seemed to be overnourished and bigger than normal. She also realized that these small animals could actually talk. She had to admit that as an atheist she was really shocked at first. But she was so hungry that she could not care about these strange things. Moreover, she had already transmigrated. The world was different. Why couldn't animals have some changes? That was until she accidentally discovered a black rabbit biting someone. She conveniently hid it and saved a few people. She saw that they were familiar people. They were the hunters who gave her the sweet potatoes. Only then did she realize that these small animals were actually man-eating demons. The hunters thought that she was an immortal and thanked her profusely. This time they did not invite her down the mountain. Instead, they praised her demon-hunting behavior. They encouraged her to kill more to prevent them from eating humans. They also gave her more sweet potatoes. Shening, who originally wanted to go down the mountain, straight face, looking at the sweet potatoes in her hands, she could not say that she did not want to do it anymore. So, she started to live the life of a demon hunter. She started to hunt these strange small animals. At least their meat was better than sweet potatoes. As she hunted, she realized that her body seemed to have undergone some changes. She had never hunted before, but no matter what kind of strange animals she encountered, she could always catch them easily. Furthermore, his strength was so great that he couldn't believe it himself. Clearly, some small animals had special abilities such as being able to breathe fire when they opened their mouths, or slashing the ground with their claws. However, these skills seemed to have no effect on her at all. At most, the flames would burn off a corner of her clothes. If the ground split open, she would be able to crawl out again. Sometimes she even deliberately let a small animal bite her, and the result was a mouthful of sharp teeth. Her skin was clearly the same as before, soft and supple, and he just couldn't bite through it. At first, she thought that these small animals were too weak. She even tried to uproot the 100-year-old tree behind the house. In the end, these old trees with intertwined roots were easily uprooted by her. She had uprooted dozens of old trees in the front and back of the house, so she took the opportunity to make a yard for herself. Straight face, at this point she finally confirmed one thing. In this world, she seemed to be invincible? She felt that this should be the geographical difference between the other world and Earth. It was a normal phenomenon. The gravity on Earth and the Moon were different. To be honest, after discovering this problem, she wanted to find someone else to confirm it. She heard that there really were immortals in this world, but unfortunately she couldn't see many people in a month. She could only stay here. Her personality had always been comfortable. To put it nicely, she was adaptable to circumstances, but to put it bluntly, she was a stubborn otaku who didn't know how to improve. There really wasn't much to pursue in life. Although her cooking skills were hard to describe, and she often cooked until it was burnt, at least she didn't have to go hungry. Eating the meat of small animals that could talk was a little awkward, but as she ate and ate, she got used to it. I'm so sleepy. Shening stretched lazily and pulled at the tattered quilt, feeling sleepy. It was a tiring night. She could finally go back to sleep. Hopefully she wouldn't encounter anything that would disturb her sleep. Just as she was thinking this, she closed her eyes. Suddenly she heard a loud bang. A flash of light struck down, directly splitting a large hole in the roof of the thatched cottage. With a crashing sound, grass splashed everywhere, and more than half of the cottage that had been weathered by the wind and rain had collapsed. leaving only an inch of space above her small bed. Shining, then there was another bang. A figure fell in the yard, blood splattering all over the ground. The original white robe was already half-stained red, and there were all kinds of wounds on it. Ha ha ha. Arrogant laughter rang out in the air, followed by a black figure slowly descending, stepping on the ruins of her thatched cottage. I Ching, little brat, didn't you say you wanted to kill demons and defend the Tao? Didn't you want to kill me? Why can't you do it now? Rui Mi. The person who fell in the yard struggled to get up, but his injuries were too serious. After a long time he only managed to prop up half of his body. You demon, you used the soul of a living person as a sacrifice to the soul-devouring Gonfalon. As a righteous cultivator, everyone has the right to kill you. Still stubborn. The man in black snorted. I Ching, you used your sword cultivation to chase me for 3 days and 3 nights. You almost destroyed the soul-devouring Gonfalon that I painstakingly refined. Today I will use you as a sacrifice to the Gonfalon to dispel the hatred in my heart. With that said, he waved the Gonfalon in his hand. Instantly, dozens of lightning bolts were released, striking towards the yard. Not only did the man fall back, but several large holes were formed around him. Shining frowned. My yard. Ha ha ha. How does it feel to have demonic chi enter your body? The man in black laughed even more proudly. It was not in vain that I spent so much effort to set up a spirit gathering array and spent 3 days to lure you here. Despicable. Who asked you to be a busybody? Rui Mi laughed coldly. It's just killing a few mortals. Even the Black Heaven sect doesn't care about it. Why do you have to be a busybody? Nonsense. I Ching spat out a mouthful of blood. He could not summon any spirit chi at all. He really did not expect that this fiendish cultivator would have the guts to set up a spirit gathering array at the entrance of the demon realm. He was caught off guard and the demonic chi entered his body, causing his spirit chi to dissipate. That was why his sneak attack succeeded and caused him to be injured to this extent. Although he was just an itinerant cultivator, he cultivated an orthodox Dharmic Tao and pursued the supreme great Tao. How could he not do anything when he saw I Ching absorb the soul of a living person? Was the life of a mortal not a life? Besides, as an exalted immortal sect, how could the Black Heaven sect not care about such things? It was just that they did not realize it. Forget it. Since you insist on seeking death, I'll grant you your wish today. Rui Mi raised the Gonfalon in his hand and was about to attack. Hey, who's that? A gentle female voice came from his right. Who's there? Rui Mi was shocked. He turned around abruptly, only to see a dusty person wrapped in a blanket. Her entire body was dirty and there were a few strands of straw stuck in her messy hair. His heart tightened. Was a woman. When did she get here? Even with his cultivation, he did not notice her at all. He looked her up and down and realized that she had no cultivation at all. Only then did he relax. She was just a mortal. I didn't think that there would be mortals living in such a deep mountain forest. The corner of Rui Mi's mouth curved into a strange smile. Another good material for the Gonfalon. What are you trying to do? The moment he said that, the person on the ground struggled to get up as if provoked. He shouted, You still want to harm people. You have a kind heart. Rui Mi was disdainful. He walked toward Shining. You're already like this and you still want to save people. Stop. Rui Mi is just a mortal. Aha. His smile deepened. My soul-devouring Gonfalon does not despise the souls of mortals. Girl, run quickly. She's not a good person. The person on the ground struggled to get up, but he could not stop Rui Mi at all. He could only shout louder and louder for people to run. If you think you can run, stop right there. I say. Shining lifted her blanket and frowned. Can you guys be quieter? She said late at night. Rui Mi had already walked to the side of the bed. Hearing that, he laughed softly and said, Haha, little doll, I'll make you quiet right away. The kind that would be quiet forever. He raised the flag in his hand and instantly, lightning flashed, Shining cooperated and stood up. She let out another long sigh and reached out. Calmly, she passed through the layers of lightning and grabbed the person's collar. Rui Mi was shocked. Before he could react, he felt the world spinning in front of him. Shining grabbed his collar and swung him to the right. With a loud bang, he fell to the ground. Then she swung him to the left. As if she was swinging a cloth bag, she swung him left and right. For a moment, the entire forest was filled with sounds of smashing and smashing, as well as her extremely unhappy grumbles. I told you I have a bad temper when I wake up. Who asked you to disturb my sleep? Who asked you to disturb my sleep? Who asked you to disturb my sleep? I Ching, was he seeing things? Before he could see clearly, his vision went black and he finally fainted. Chapter 4. When I Ching woke up again, he found himself still lying in the yard. He did not even move. His injuries were too serious and his vision was not clear. He could only see a gray and white shadow talking. The white shadow was huge and exuded a faint demonic aura. Were there demons? He could not help but worry. Not for himself but for the girl from before. Was she all right? But he was too tired. He fainted again after a while. When he woke up the second time, he was still lying there. He did not even turn over. This time was better than the last time. He could faintly hear voices. Exalted immortal Shun, I'm here again. This is the best food in the demon realm. Carrot? Yes, it's so juicy. Look at the color and the moisture. It's our tribe's favorite. You really are a rabbit. Can you change it next time? No problem, Exalted Immortal. Exalted Immortal, is there anything else you need? Yes, there is. Can you? What could he do? He did not hear it because he fainted again. When he woke up the third time, he was still lying in the yard. Yes, still in the same position. This time he was finally fully awake. He had the strength to turn his head. He finally saw the gray figure clearly. It was the girl from that night. And she seemed to be digging a hole. Oh, you're still alive. She suddenly sighed. At that moment, I Ching felt that she was a little disappointed. Disappointed about what? He was not dead? Before he could figure it out, he saw her climb out of the pit that was half a person's height. She passed something to his mouth and said casually, "Are you hungry? Do you want to eat?" I Ching looked at it. It was an extremely rare 10,000-year-old ice ginseng. It seemed that he had thought too much. This kind of meridian repair sacred medicine was extremely rare even in the 3 sects and 6 schools. She actually gave it to him so casually to heal his injuries. This girl was too kind. He hesitated for a moment. He did not know how to repay such a great kindness. But he really needed it now. After thinking about it, he finally nodded. Thank you. Full of gratitude, he lowered his head and nibbled on the 10,000-year-old ice ginseng in her hand until it was finished. Almost instantly, the spiritual energy in his body began to recover, and his broken meridians and tendons began to repair. Shining looked at him silently. This man had been lying motionless in the courtyard for a few days. He was not even breathing. At first, she thought that he was dead, but she was used to being lazy. She really did not want to waste her energy to drag him out, so she let him lie there. Today, on a whim, he wanted to dig a hole and bury himself, but he woke up again. Full. Do you want more? Shining took out another carrot that the rabbit monarch had given her. I Ching really wanted to answer her, but his body was really in too much pain. The pain of his meridians recovering was not something an ordinary person could endure. In addition, his cultivation was suppressed by the demonic aura, and he could not seal his 5 senses, which made it even more painful. In less than 10 breaths, he fainted again. Hey, are you okay? Seeing that the person on the ground suddenly stopped moving, Shining poked him with the carrot. Are you allergic to carrots? He checked his nose. Damn, he's dead again. Shining? He felt a little wronged. When I Ching woke up for the 4th time, he was still on the ground. At this point, all the meridians in his body had recovered, but the demonic aura in his body had not been cleared, so he could not use his spirit energy. And the lady in gray who saved him was still digging a hole. Straight face, she was still digging the same hole. The previous time it was only waist deep, but now it was neck deep. Miss. He sat up and could not help but call out. The person who was seriously digging the hole paused and turned around, seemingly in a daze. So you're not dead? She frowned and sighed. Then she crawled out of the hole on all 4s. As she crawled, she muttered, "You should have said so earlier. I dug for so long." I Ching gave her a hand and helped her out. Turning back to look at the deep hole, he asked subconsciously, "Miss you?" Why did it feel like she was even more disappointed than before? Xinying's face seemed to twitch. She coughed and said with a serious expression, "Isn't it because there were so many holes in the yard because of that person in black last time? I want to fill them up." "But you were digging a hole just now." I Ching was even more confused. "Yes," she continued, "if I don't dig, how am I going to fill the hole with soil?" I Ching was stunned for a moment. Why did this sound so strange? But he did not continue asking. Instead, he turned and bowed respectfully. "I am I Ching. Thank you for saving my life, Mississippi." Shining was stunned. Had she saved someone before? "May I ask for your name, benefactor?" Shining. Miss Shun, I am unable to repay you for saving my life. In the future, if you have any requests, as long as it is not against morality, I Ching will not refuse. There's no need. I didn't do anything. No, I must repay this favor. Otherwise it will go against my Tao heart. Please instruct me, benefactor. I didn't do much. She thought about it and handed the shovel in her hand to him. Why don't you help me fill the hole? I've been digging for more than 10 days. It's quite troublesome. Yes. I Ching was delighted. He immediately took the shovel from her. I will not let you down. As long as you're happy. I'll go back and wash my hands. Take care, benefactor. He bowed again. Shining then walked back into the house. I Ching was a sword cultivator with a strong physique. Although the demonic chi in his body had not been cleared and he could not use spells, filling a few holes was a piece of cake for him. In a short while he had already filled all the holes in the yard, including the 2-meter deep hole that Shining had dug. Just as he was about to report to his benefactor in the house, he suddenly felt a huge wave of yin chi coming towards him. His whole body felt as if he had fallen into an ice cave. His body instantly entered a state of battle. This was demonic chi. Such a strong demonic chi. Who is it? He summoned his weapon and turned to look at the source of the demonic chi. He saw a huge white figure hopping out of the forest. It had long ears, red lips, and a 3-petaled mouth. It was actually a rabbit demon. And the thick demonic chi around it was at least 8 stage. No, maybe even higher. The demonic chi was so thick. This was a demon king. I Ching suddenly felt a little hopeless. He did not expect to meet a demon king at this time. Not to mention that his spirit chi had not recovered. Even at his peak with his golden core cultivation, he had no chance of winning in front of a demon king that was comparable to a nascent soul. Although the path of immortal cultivation had always been going against the heavens, he was prepared to die the moment he stepped on this path. But at this moment he was worried about the person in the house. It did not matter if he died, but what about his benefactor? He must not let anything happen to her before he repaid her kindness. At the thought of this, he took a step forward and gripped the sword in his hand tightly. Even if he had to risk his life, he had to protect his benefactor. He forcibly mobilized his spirit chi. Almost instantly, the demonic chi in his body backfired, and he tasted blood in his mouth. Chapter 5. As the demon king came closer, I Ching could see clearly that there was a large group of white figures following behind it. There were other rabbit demons. Counting carefully, there were actually close to 20 of them. They were all high-level rabbit demons. I Ching's heart turned even colder. One demon king was already going all out, a group of, just as he was considering whether to self-destruct his golden core and fight it out, the demon king shook its long ears and suddenly spoke in an extremely flattering tone. Hello, is exalted immortal Shen around? You. I Ching's big move was stuck. He did not know whether to release it or not. Oh, I agreed to come at this hour with exalted immortal. The demon king laughed as it explained, becoming more and more flattering. Its attitude was almost subdued. Exalted immortal, what's the matter? It's all right, we just have to wait. As it spoke, it waved its claws at the rabbits behind it. More than 10 high-level rabbit demons immediately sat in a row in an orderly manner. They did not even move their tails, much less attack. I Ching was a little confused. This was a demon? What happened to demons being evil by nature and eating people on sight? Don't be afraid, benefactor. We are all good rabbits that eat grass. As if understanding his thoughts, the demon king rabbit was a little anxious. Afraid that he would misunderstand, it explained, it's true. We are different from other demons. We never eat humans. With that said, it retracted its claws and sat even more obediently. Yo rabbit, you're here. Before I Ching could figure out what was going on, Shining finished washing her hands, wiped her hands on her gray robe and walked over. You're quite early. Exalted immortal. The rabbit monarch's body trembled as though it had been electrocuted. Its originally upright rabbit body collapsed instantly as it slumped to the ground. If not for the fact that it was in its rabbit form, it would have looked like it was prostrating itself. I have gathered the manpower according to your instructions. Shining turned and looked around. Why are they all rabbits? Can they do it? Exalted immortal, don't worry. The rabbit monarch nodded vigorously. My rabbits and grandchildren have always been efficient. There will definitely be no problem leaving it to them. But they look. Shining glanced at the 4 snow-white claws of the rabbits. Is it convenient? The rabbit monarch was taken aback for a moment before understanding what she meant. It's fine. They already know how to transform a long time ago. It's just that they're used to being rabbits. As he spoke, he waved his hand and as expected, the dozen or so rabbits stood up at the same time. Their entire bodies began to transform, and in a few moments they had taken on human forms. However, they had rabbit heads. Straight face, the corner of Xin Ying's mouth twitched. She felt that it hurt her eyes. All right, thank you for your hard work. He quickly waved his hand to let them in. Only then did the rabbit monarch lead the group of rabbits into the yard. I Ching wasn't sure if it was an illusion, but he felt that every rabbit demon that passed by his benefactor would subconsciously tremble. Benefactor they are? I Ching could not help but ask. From the looks of it, these rabbit demons were summoned by her. Oh, I asked them to come and help. Xin Ying pointed to the small thatched cottage behind her. Didn't my cottage get split in half the other day? I don't know how to fix it. Fortunately, it hasn't rained for the past few days, so I managed to make do with it. The rabbit said it could, so I asked it to help repair the house. Asked the demon monarch to repair the house. I Ching was completely shocked. Demons were not mutated beasts. They had always been at odds with humans, so why would they be willing to be ordered around by humans? But after a while he realized that they really could. Straight face, the large group of rabbit demons had already started to repair the house in a hurry. Some chopped down trees, some covered the grass, and some supported the beams. They had a clear division of labor and great teamwork, as if they had practiced it several times in advance. I Ching was filled with questions, but he saw that Xin Ying had already calmly rolled up her sleeves, intending to go and help. Just as she was about to lend a hand, the hand of the rabbit demon closest to her suddenly trembled, and the beam it was hugging fell with a thud. Xin Ying hurriedly reached out to catch it to prevent it from hitting another rabbit. Are you all right? She turned and asked. The rabbit's eyes reddened as it knelt down. Exalted immortal, please spare my life. I didn't do it on purpose. I'm sorry. When it knelt down, the other rabbit demons seemed to have received some kind of signal. They knelt on the ground and kowtowed to her crazily. Xin Ying? I just wanted to help. Do you guys have such a huge psychological trauma? Forget it. She had no choice but to throw the beam to I Ching behind her. Here. You guys continue, I won't join in. With that said, she turned and walked back to the courtyard. She felt a little heartache. Was she so scary? She sat down on the stone chair in the courtyard and leaned forward. She habitually laid on the stone table like a pile of mud. Forget it. Since she didn't need help, she couldn't be bothered to move. The sun was so good it was the most suitable for sleeping. Hence, in less than 2 minutes, there was a faint sound of snoring coming from the stone table. The moment the sound was heard, I Ching clearly heard all the rabbit demons heave a sigh of relief, as if they had just survived a disaster. Even the speed of building the house had increased by a lot. Thank you, benefactor. A rabbit demon took the beam from his hands with a face full of gratitude, as if he was a friend who had gone through thick and thin with him. Why, are you all so afraid of Lady Shen? He couldn't help but ask. You don't know? Instead, the rabbit demon looked shocked. Wasn't he the exalted immortal's friend? The rabbit monarch had clearly said that he had been lying in this courtyard for a month. Actually, I'm not very sure either. The rabbit demon looked at the monarch who was planting grass on the roof and said in a low voice, I only heard from the monarch that this exalted immortal's powers are boundless and no one is her match. No one knows what realm her cultivation has reached. She has been living in seclusion here for several months, especially stopping those demons who come out to eat humans for fun. I heard that when the 9 demon monarchs joined forces, they couldn't even withstand one move from her. So my monarch has repeatedly warned us not to anger the exalted immortal. The more I Ching listened, the wider his eyes widened. He didn't expect Lady Shen to actually, no, Senior Shen to actually be such a powerful person. He suddenly recalled the scene of Ruemi being smashed all over the ground that night when he was seriously injured and fell here. Originally, he thought that his eyes were playing tricks on him and that he was hallucinating. He didn't expect that it was real. Thinking about it carefully, he did not see Ruemi after he woke up. No matter what, he was still a golden core fiendish cultivator. Unless a sword cultivator of the same level or a nascent soul cultivator made a move, no one could do anything to him. If Xin Ying was really immortal with no cultivation at all, it would be impossible for her to escape from the other party's hands. He took a closer look at the person who was sprawled on the stone table without a care for her image, drooling and snoring loudly. She still didn't have the slightest trace of spiritual energy on her body. She looked just like a weak mortal. There were 2 possibilities for such a situation. 1, she was just a mortal. 2, her cultivation was too high. She might have already reached the soul formation stage or even higher. Therefore she had reached the level of returning to the basics. She could control and release her spirit chi at will, and ordinary people would not be able to tell. And according to the rabbit demons, she was obviously the latter. An uncontrollable excitement surged in I Ching's heart. Even his sword heart, which had not moved for a long time, was trembling with excitement. This was an expert that no one could figure out at all. At the same time, Expert Ing, who was in dreamland, smacked her lips and suddenly spoke in her sleep. Hee red braised pork, spicy chicken, mapo tofu, I Ching. This must be some profound dermic technique, it must be. Oh ho ho. Chapter 6. When Shining woke up, it was already dark. None of the rabbits had disappeared, leaving only the man in the blood-stained white robe sitting in front of her, looking at her with a conflicted expression. Shining paused for a moment before she remembered who this person was. That pit. Where are the rabbits? Where did he go? She turned her head to take a look and found that the house had been repaired. Moreover, it had grown in length and width from a small single-room hut to a large 5-room hut. They were a group of good rabbits. They finished building the house. They were afraid to disturb your sleep, so they went back first. He pointed to the pile of ingredients in front of the house and said, "This was left behind by the rabbit monarch. It said that it's today's portion." Shining scratched her head and stretched lazily. She walked to the pile of ingredients and picked one up. Frowning, she asked, "Why is it carrots again?" They really are a bunch of rabbits. Yesterday it was carrots, today it's white radishes. Holy shit. There were also green radishes. You won't be giving me purple tomorrow, will you? I Ching followed, his heart surging. Even a 10,000-year-old ice ginseng and a 1,000-year-old green spirit could be treated as ordinary carrots. He was indeed a hidden expert. Forget it, I'll just make do with it. Shining, who really thought that it was a radish, sighed. She grabbed the radish with one hand and picked up the vegetable basket on the ground with the other. She was about to enter the house when she turned and saw I Ching beside her. She was stunned. "Why aren't you leaving yet?" she said as she chewed on the carrot. "Can't you leave now? Don't you want to go home and get a free meal? I only have carrots." Saying this, she handed the basket in front of him, indicating that he could take whatever he wanted. I Ching's heart warmed and he hurriedly cupped his fists and bowed. "Thank you, Senior, but my meridians have already been repaired, so I don't need this." Shining, who had no idea what he was talking about, could only guess that he didn't want to eat. She kept the basket and said, "Then goodbye." She turned to enter the house. "Senior Shin," he shouted anxiously. Shining turned around again. "Is there anything else?" I Ching's brows furrowed and unfurled as if he were in a dilemma. The expression on his face changed several times. Hesitation, worry, worship, anticipation, and other emotions flashed across his face. A moment later, he clenched his teeth as though he had finally mustered up his courage, and knelt down with a thud, respectfully bowing to her. "Senior, please accept me as your disciple." "Ha!" She was immediately dumbfounded. What was going on? Accepting a disciple? What did he want to learn from her? Is it a waste of time to stay home? "I am an itinerant cultivator. I belong to no sect or master. I am now a golden core sword cultivator. I am dedicated to the Tao. I only wish to use the sword in my hand to sweep away all evil in the world," I Ching said seriously. "I am fortunate to have met you, Senior. I admire your righteousness. If I may be so bold, I would like to take you as my disciple. I hope Senior will grant my wish." With that, he kowtowed 3 times in front of her and looked at her nervously and expectantly. "Are you joking?" The corner of Shinying's mouth twitched. Was this person's brain all right? He seemed to be allergic to carrots before. Would there be any side effects? "Senior." His expression became even more serious. "You and I do not know each other, but you saved me from danger, helped me recover, and protected me. I Ching will never be able to repay your kindness in this lifetime. So, you want to repay my kindness with ingratitude?" He couldn't be thinking of relying on her, could he? "You are so poor, your taste is a little crooked." "Senior, please don't misunderstand," he hurriedly explained. "I really admire you, Senior. That's why I want to be your disciple. Not only because of your cultivation but also because I respect your morals." There were so many cultivators in the world. Everyone knew that cultivating one's heart was the orthodox way to cultivate immortality. Just like when he entered the Tao, he wanted to sweep away all evil in the world as his Tao heart. He was an itinerant cultivator. He had seen many people who were virtuous and respectable, but in private they were cruel and vicious. Often, the higher one's cultivation, the more one would forget what one's heart was originally. Eventually, one would be plagued by mental demons. But who in the world did not have selfishness? Who could always remain kind? He could not guarantee that one day he would not be lost. That was why he would rather cultivate hard on his own than become someone else's disciple. Even if he was born with a sword body, he would rather not be involved in this karma. But Xining was different. Her cultivation had clearly reached a level that others could only dream of, but she would rather live in seclusion in the deep mountains and forests, even at the entrance of the demon realm. She did not pursue fame or fortune, was not afraid of death, and had an unshakable kind heart. She extended a helping hand to someone who had nothing to do with her. To be able to persevere to this point, what was the point of becoming an immortal? The moment he found out the truth, his heart was moved. This person was like the only clear spring in this filthy world. He wanted to be like her, to always maintain this kind of heart, and even more, to be as strong as her. For the first time in his life, he had the thought of asking her to be his master. Asking her to be his master was the first thing he wanted to do apart from cultivation. He was just worried that she would not be willing. "I sincerely want to cultivate with you. Senior, please grant me my wish." "Are you serious? This person is really sick in the head. What should I do? So troublesome." I Ching's heart can be summoned by the sun and moon, heaven and earth can bear witness. He. Xinying's mouth twitched. "Oh." With that said, she turned and entered the house, closing the door with a bang. What disciple? She had even repeated a year of primary school twice. Oh, exalted immortal, what's wrong with benefactor? The rabbit monarch could not help but ask. It pointed outside the house. He has been kneeling for 3 days. Benefactor? Xining was stunned for a moment before realizing that the rabbit was referring to I Ching. What else can it be? He must be taking things too hard. Ever since that day, this person had really been pestering her, insisting on being her disciple no matter what. No matter how she tried to persuade him, even to the point of using trickery, his determination to become her disciple did not waver. He had been kneeling in the yard for 3 whole days, refusing to get up no matter what. It had caused her to have poor sleep quality recently. If she had known, she would have fed him less carrots. Look at the after effects of this allergic reaction. "Oh yes, where's the thing I asked you to bring the other time? Did you bring it?" She directly pulled the basket from its hands and started searching. I brought it. The rabbit monarch hurriedly nodded. How could I dare to forget exalted immortal's instructions? With that said, it took out a pile of meat from the basket. There were pork, lamb and beef. I got my rabbit grandchildren to rush to the mortal town 50 kilometers away overnight to get this. It's still fresh. Mortal town? Xining turned to look at it. The rabbit monarch's anus tightened. I transformed into human form and exchanged the pearl given by the clam demon. I didn't alarm anyone. Oh, it's been hard on you. She picked up a piece of meat and immediately ran to the kitchen at the back. After munching on carrots for a few days, there was finally meat to eat, and it was pork. Immediately, images of meat dishes appeared in her mind. Chili stir-fried meat, red braised meat, boiled meat. Just thinking about it made her salivate. But the problem was she didn't know how to stir-fry it. Goo, B. Chapter 7. Xining hesitated for a while. She could only cook the meat in plain water as usual and scoop it up to eat it when it was cooked. She took a bite. It was bland and astringent. Her entire mouth was numb. The more beautiful her imagination was, the harsher the reality was. She opened her mouth and spat it out. Tui, it tasted terrible. In the past, she didn't feel it when she cooked to appease her hunger. Now that she had the rabbit, the problem of food and clothing was solved. Why was it so hard to eat? Indeed, cooking was a profound knowledge. She silently turned to look at the new housekeeping rabbit. Do you know how to cook? The rabbit monarch trembled and shook its head like a rattle. I eat grass. I never cook. And I'm afraid of fire. Alright, she was in despair. It looked like she wouldn't be able to eat a normal meal. Indeed, a skill was very important. She should have attended New Oriental University. Xinying's whole body withered. What should she do now? The meat was wasted and there was nothing else here. Suddenly, she had a flash of inspiration. She turned and ran to the hall. She pushed open the door and shouted at the person kneeling in the yard, Hey, who's that? The person in the yard was stunned. Seeing that it was her, he immediately cupped his fists and said, I'm I Ching. Oh, you know how to cook? I Ching's face was full of confusion, but he still answered honestly, before I refined my chi, before I achieved grain liberation, I did some. Then you know how to cook. Shining was delighted and ran out. I do know, a little. All right. She patted his shoulder hard. I promise you. Ah. From today onwards you're my chef, Ah Pui. She said at the last minute. You're my disciple. I Ching was stunned. A moment later, a huge joy appeared on his face. He took 2 quick breaths and kowtowed to her 3 times. Thank you, senior. Disciple I Ching greets master. All right, get up. We're family, no need to stand on ceremony. She chuckled and helped him up. I'm a little hungry. Go and cook first? Yes. He immediately stood up. His face was still filled with surprise and disbelief as he walked into the kitchen. An hour later, a table full of fragrant food had already been served. Master, this is my first time making it. I wonder if it suits your taste? I Ching asked nervously. Shining was so busy stuffing food into her mouth that she didn't have the time to reply. She nodded as she ate, and after a long while she squeezed out a string of unintelligible words. Woo 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 woo, it was 2F** king delicious. Although it was just some home-cooked dishes, anyone who had been fed pig feed and carrots for half a year would find a piece of fermented bean curd overflowing with fragrance. Moreover, these dishes were indeed well cooked. Shining swept through the dishes on the table like a whirlwind sweeping away clouds. Only when her stomach could hold no more did she let out a series of burps and stop. She was so happy that her stomach felt alive. She had definitely picked up a treasure. She couldn't help but turn her head to look at her cheap disciple beside her in satisfaction, only to find that from the beginning to the end, he just sat quietly at the table and watched her eat, not even lifting his hand. Why aren't you eating? Aren't you hungry? She recalled that he hadn't eaten anything during the 3 days he had been kneeling. He had even rejected the carrots and cabbages she had given him. I thought he was going to go on a hunger strike. Now that she had already promised him, wasn't he hungry? Master, when I was at Foundation Establishment, I had already achieved grain liberation. Besides, the food of mortals is not beneficial to cultivation, so I... He stopped mid-sentence as if he had discovered something. His eyes lit up and he said, could it be that Master wants to tell me that eating the food of mortals is also a kind of cultivation? With that said, he picked up his chopsticks excitedly and was about to start eating. No. Shining knocked his chopsticks down. How would I know that you don't need to eat? I'm different from you. I eat because I'm hungry, I have to eat. Since food is not beneficial to your cultivation, don't eat it. What if he really ate something bad? So why did he have to acknowledge her as his master? Their specialties were not compatible, it would kill him. Yes, master. He put down his chopsticks without hesitation. After finally having a good meal, Shining felt that her life was complete. Her whole body became lazy again and even her bones turned soft. She looked like a boneless worm lying on the table without a care for her image. Her eyes narrowed as she started to feel sleepy. I Ching was obviously used to her sad look. He turned to clean up the bowls and chopsticks on the table. Shining looked at him with narrowed eyes. She wanted to help, after all he was the one who had just cooked. But she was too lazy to move. She watched silently as he entered the kitchen. Suddenly, a thought arose in her mind. Perhaps taking in a disciple was not a bad idea. Master. I Ching, who had finished washing the dishes, suddenly spoke. Yes. She responded, turned her head to another side and continued to lay on the table. I Ching hesitated for a while before continuing to ask, Disciple has something to ask Master. Yes. Master, can you tell Disciple where the fiendish cultivator I fought with last time Ruemi? He frowned and continued. He used living souls as sacrifices to cultivate the soul-devouring Gonfalon. And he cultivated an extremely sinister fiendish technique. His whole body was filled with poison. Oh, that person was carried away by the rabbit, Shining answered weakly. The rabbit said that it liked his body very much. It said that it wanted to take it back to make radish, so I gave it to him. She could not always leave it in the yard. That's good. I Ching heaved a sigh of relief. With the cultivation of a demon king, even if that person did not die, he would not be able to get away with it. Moreover, the poison in his body was useless against demonic aura. Oh yes. Her head, which was resting on the table, tilted. That person seemed to have left something behind, Shining thought for a while and sighed. Then she supported herself on the table and stood up slowly. She opened the curtains of the inner room and suddenly leaned over to the side of the bed. She reached under the bed. Master. Found it. She pulled hard and suddenly pulled out a black flag from under the bed. Is this? The rabbit only moved his body away and left this behind. Do you want it? She reached out and handed it over. Soul-devouring gonfalon. I Ching was shocked. He took the flag and looked at it carefully. He saw that the surface of the flag was surging with black qi. His face turned pale. Oh no, this flag has lost its owner's control. The soul-devouring array on it is about to collapse. And there are evil ghosts inside. He thought of something and his expression became even uglier. He immediately sat down cross-legged. I have to seal them quickly. As he spoke, he forcibly mobilized his spirit qi and set up an array. The moment the array appeared in his hands, the demonic aura in his body once again attacked his meridians. He opened his mouth and spat out a huge mouthful of blood. His clothes, which were already stained with blood, were dyed even redder. Hey, what are you doing? Are you all right? Shining was shocked. What did he do? I Ching did not reply. Instead, he endured the pain of his meridians being cut inch by the demonic aura and forcibly completed the array seal on the flag. It was only when the array was complete and the surging black qi on the flag was suppressed that he stopped. His body tilted and he fell to the ground again. Chapter 8. Hey. Shining nudged him. What's wrong with you? Chef, disciple, don't scare me. Master, don't worry. It's fine. As if it's fine. He's already vomiting blood. Holy shit, he's still vomiting. Shining was a little confused. Could the disciple she had just taken in be a one-time thing? She had never studied medicine and did not know much about this world's routines. After some thought, she turned and rushed into the forest. She grabbed a small animal that had just come out of the demon realm and asked it to help find a rabbit. The rabbit came quickly, hopping over in less than 10 minutes. Exalted immortal, you were looking for me? Come in and take a look at my chef, disciple. She waved. The rabbit monarch hurriedly transformed into its human form and entered the house. Looking at the person on the ground who was on his last breath and the ghostly flag beside him, it immediately guessed what had happened. Exalted immortal, this is because demonic aura has entered his body. He had just repaired his meridians and did not expel the demonic aura in time. He even forcefully used spirit qi to seal the ghost flag, causing the demonic aura to backfire and injure his internal organs, causing his golden core to be damaged. What did that mean? I don't understand. How do we treat it? This? The rabbit monarch's ears twitched a little awkwardly. Demonic aura is a great poison to cultivators to begin with. The honored sir's demonic aura has been in his body for a long time. To dispel the demonic aura in his body, the only way is to use a demonic inner core to absorb the demonic aura in his body. What's a demon core? Every demon will form a demon core in their body before they gain sentience. The rabbit monarch pointed to its stomach. That is the foundation of demon cultivation. Also, ordinary demon cores won't work. Demon cores from demons of the 8th level and above are needed. In that case, Shining looked at the rabbit's stomach with an unclear meaning. The rabbit monarch trembled and immediately took a few steps back. Exalted immortal, I can't. Although I am a 10th level demon king, once the demon core leaves my body, I will be a dead rabbit. Shining looked disappointed. Master, don't worry about me, I Ching said anxiously as he vomited blood. I was the one who voluntarily used my powers to seal the soul-devouring gonfalon. It has nothing to do with anyone else. To be able to become Master's disciple before I die, I Ching is satisfied. If you can't speak, then don't speak. Shining sighed and squatted beside him. She patted his back and helped him breathe. He suddenly thought of something and looked at the rabbit monarch. Rabbit, what does your inner core look like? That's not necessarily true. The rabbit monarch shrank back in fear. We demons are of different species and have different elemental attributes. Our inner cores all look different. Although they are all round, the color changes according to the demon's elemental attribute and cultivation technique. Oh. She tilted her head in a daze. Do they all grow on your stomach? The rabbit monarch nodded. They are usually located in the dantian. Is that so? Something flashed across her face and she suddenly turned around and crawled under the bed. Her entire upper body was buried under it, leaving only her 2 feet outside. After a while, she pulled out a big sack and threw it in front of the rabbit. Rabbit, take a look. Is it like this? The rabbit monarch opened the sack suspiciously, but failed to hold it properly. More than half of it spilled out. Instantly, beads of various sizes rolled all over the ground. There were red, white, black, blue and all kinds of colors. Demon core. The rabbit was stunned. This. There were too many. There were probably thousands of them in such a big sack. Oh, I found these when I was catching those animals. I saw that they glowed, so I brought them back. Shin Ing explained casually. I don't have any lights here, so I wanted to use them for illumination. But most of these beads can only glow for a day or two. So she unknowingly hoarded a pile. The rabbit monarch. How many demons have you killed? Thinking back to the situation at the 1,000 demon meet, he immediately calmed down. How is it? Can these be used? Yes. The rabbit monarch nodded hurriedly. Not only could they be used, but they were extremely useful. Even the rabbit monarch was so excited that its hands were trembling. One had to know that there had never been any peaceful coexistence between demons. They had always killed each other for the sake of the other party's demon core. Eating the other party's beast core was very beneficial to their cultivation. However, most of the demons were violent and would rather self-destruct than leave the beast core behind. Moreover, after the demon's body died for a quarter of an hour, the beast core would be directly damaged if it was not taken out quickly. But here, the rabbit monarch saw a ground full of intact demon cores. So many. The rabbit monarch could not help but feel envious. It would be great if it could have one or two. It forcefully suppressed the greed in its heart, picked up an 8-stage demon core and walked over. Exalted immortal, this will do, it said in all seriousness, but the corner of its eyes could not help but glance at the demon cores all over the ground. This temptation was a little too great. How do I do it? Shining asked. Take off your clothes and place it on your chest. Shining hurriedly did as she was told. The moment the demon core landed, a gray smoke-like substance floated out of I Ching's body and entered the bead. In less than a quarter of an hour, the demonic chi in his body was sucked clean. I Ching tried to move and realized that the pain had disappeared. The spirit chi in his body also began to circulate, automatically repairing his tendons and meridians. Thank you, master. He immediately knelt down and bowed. Shining heaved a sigh of relief and pulled him up. It's good that you're fine. She had been scared to death. She thought that she would have to continue eating pig's swill in the future. Exalted immortal, since the benefactor is fine, I will take my leave first. Oh, thank you. Thank you, demon monarch. The rabbit monarch turned and walked out of the house, trying its best to resist glancing at the ground. Stop. This was the exalted immortal's item. Even if it had the life to look at it, it would not have the life to enjoy it. Rabbit, wait. Shining suddenly said. The rabbit monarch trembled and felt a chill in its heart. It can't be. She saw through it too? Shining bent down and grabbed a handful of beads on the ground. She chased after the rabbit monarch and stuffed them into it. I see that you like these beads. Here. Take it as a thank you gift for giving me food these days. The rabbit monarch was stunned. It stared blankly at the dozens of beads of different grades in its hand. Its heart warmed and it suddenly felt like crying. Exalted immortal? It's already very late. Hurry up and go back to sleep. She stroked its rabbit fur. Aren't you going to give birth to bunnies? Go back and rest early. Exalted immortal. The rabbit monarch was extremely touched. It rubbed its sore nose and could not help but blurt out, Exalted immortal, do you like bunnies? The ones that have just been born. Why don't I give you a few after I give birth? There was no way to repay her. How about she devote her life to her? There's no need. She shook her head and added, I like to eat bunnies, but I don't like to rear them. Straight face, the feeling of being touched just now must have been an illusion. An illusion. Chapter 9. Since that night, all the demonic chi in I Ching's body had been cleared, and his injuries were completely healed. Perhaps it was because he had been suppressing the demonic chi with all his might, but now that the demonic chi was cleared, he felt that his cultivation, which had been stagnant for a long time, was about to break through. And all this was because of the demon core that Master had given him. He was once again glad that he had such a good master. Thus, he could not bring himself to say what he wanted to say. Chef, disciple, that deer? Shining pushed the person who was cooking. Are you, all right? I Ching was stunned and the guilt on his face grew. He put down the spatula and bowed to her. You could tell? Indeed, nothing can be hidden from Master's eyes. I just saw that you added salt to the same dish 3 times, so I wanted to ask if it could still be eaten. His expression became even more guilty. After hesitating for a while, he gritted his teeth and said, Disciple does have something to discuss. I hope Master can help me. Shining glanced at the pot and said casually, If you have something to say, just say it. And fortunately it was carrots, not meat. Disciple knows that master has a kind heart, so you are stationed at the border all year round to prevent demons from going out to do evil. No, she just had no sense of direction and did not dare to wander around. It's just that what your disciple is asking for is extraordinary and urgent. As he spoke, he turned his hand and took out the soul-devouring gonfalon that was previously sealed. He explained, this gonfalon was made by the fiendish cultivator Ruemi. He once slaughtered hundreds of thousands of people and trapped their souls in this gonfalon, raising them in a blood pool of evil chi. He led the evil spirits in the gonfalon to kill each other, hoping to raise a ghost king. Now there are still tens of thousands of evil spirits in the gonfalon, any one of them will cause great suffering. Thinking of the evil deeds of the fiendish cultivator, he clenched his fists and took a deep breath before continuing. Now that this gonfalon has lost its owner's control, the evil spirits inside will definitely take the opportunity to break out of the gonfalon. Although I used sorcery to temporarily seal this gonfalon last night, it is not a long-term solution. When the day of the full moon, when the yin chi is at its strongest, the evil spirits will definitely break through the seal and bring disaster to the world. Oh. Shining nodded, completely not understanding. What exactly are you trying to say? 100,000 evil spirits. I'm afraid no one can suppress them alone. He clenched his fists and said with determination, so, I want to send this flag to the immortal sect, the Black Heaven sect. That place was located on top of a spiritual vein, and one could use the spiritual energy to cleanse the evil spirits of the evil spirits and use it to transcend the 100,000 souls inside. But he suddenly thought of something and turned to look at Shening hesitantly. It's a long journey to the Black Heaven sect, and I'm inexperienced. If something happens to this banner, I'm afraid I won't be able to do anything. He cupped his fists and suddenly knelt down in front of her. This disciple is bold enough to ask Master to accompany me to Black Heaven sect. All right. I know Master is here to cultivate. If I leave rashly, I'm afraid it's... Master, you agreed. I Ching's eyes widened in disbelief. He felt like he was hallucinating. After all, those who chose to live next to the demon realm must have encountered some kind of huge obstacle in their cultivation and had no choice but to do so. When it came to cultivation, the greatest taboo was to give up halfway. She actually agreed to leave so easily. Get up, get up. Shining pulled him up. Why didn't you say you knew the way? She had been living in this lousy forest for a few months now. If it wasn't for the fact that the hunter refused to bring her out no matter what, and that she had a terrible sense of direction and was afraid that she wouldn't even be able to find a thatched hut to sleep in, she would have gone out long ago. Sure enough, there were benefits to having a disciple. When are we leaving? There's no time like the present. Why don't we leave now? Lunch can be packed. Master. I Ching felt a lump in his throat. He was so touched that he had nowhere to put it. Master was really a kind person. He had no regrets in joining the sect. What are you standing there for? Shining turned and walked out of the kitchen. She waved her hand. Hurry up and pack lunch. We'll eat as we go. Time is of the essence. Forget about the dish in the pot. It was already burned anyway. Yes. I Ching rubbed his nose and suppressed the gratitude in his heart. He turned and extinguished the fire. He straightened his back and walked out in big strides. There was a faint sense of Master's pride surging out. She could finally leave this shabby place. Shining was a little excited. She rushed into the house to pack but found that she had nothing to pack. After thinking for a while, she turned and left a note for Rabbit. When she went out, her chef disciple had already packed lunch and was waiting for her. I'm done. She walked over and asked casually, which way? I Ching pointed to the right. South will do. Let's go then. Yes. He raised his hand out of habit. Suddenly, a sword appeared in front of him. He took a step forward and flew on the sword. He was about to speed up when he turned back to see that someone was still in the same place. He reminded her, Master? The road to Black Heaven sect is long. We need to fly on the sword. Shining? What kind of high-tech technology was sword flying? If she could fly, would she have been trapped here for 4 months? Master. I don't know how. Ha. I Ching almost thought that he had heard wrongly. Seeing that she did not look like she was joking, he asked tentatively, Master, are you used to flying on artifacts? I don't know how. Then what about flying? Never heard of it. Then stealth? I don't know. I Ching was silent for a whole minute before flying back with a complicated expression. He hesitantly reached out to her and said, Then, Can I give Master a ride? Sure. She replied instantly. She turned and jumped onto his sword. Thank you. I'm standing still. Let's go. That eager look, no matter how he looked at it, seemed a little overly excited. She looked very much like a young disciple from a sect who was flying on a sword for the first time. I Ching shook his head and threw away this ridiculous thought. He led the others and flew on the sword again. Master was so powerful. How could she not know how to fly on a sword? There must be another reason. Could it be that she suffered some internal injury when she helped him expel the demonic aura last night? She did not tell him so that he would not worry? The more he thought about it, the more he felt that it was possible. He could not help but turn back to look at Shining. Master was really too kind. Shining, who was really flying for the first time. What's with this cheap chef's look of concern for a disabled child? Isn't it just a ride? The two of them spent a whole 2 days flying. After leaving the forest shrouded in demonic aura, they passed through a wasteland. It was not until the afternoon of the third day that they saw a small city in front of them. They could even faintly hear the bustling sounds of people. Master, we're here. I Ching stopped and put away his spirit sword. This is Black Heaven sect? Shining looked up at the words in front of the city gate, but found that she could not see it clearly. No. I Ching shook his head. This is the nearest cultivator city, Xuanyu City. The road to Black Heaven sect is too long. If we fly on a sword, I'm afraid it will take half a month to reach the mountain gate. There is a transportation array in this city. It can be sent directly to Black Heaven sect. Oh. Although she did not really understand, it should be saying that there was a shortcut here. I Ching led the others into the city. They passed through the bustling streets and went all the way to the most central place. They only stopped when they came to a small square with the most people. There were many people here. Some were in groups of 3 to 5 and some were walking alone. All of them looked like they were sages. They lined up in a long line as if waiting for something. I Ching brought Shining to the back of the line. He pointed to the front and said, Master, the transportation array is in front. We can reach Black Heaven sect in a while. Shining nodded. She was a little sleepy and did not have the energy to look around. The line moved quickly. In a short while they reached the front. Shining then saw clearly that there was a glowing pattern on the ground in the middle. It looked a little like a magic array in some animation. There were 4 stone pillars around it, and some words that she did not recognize were written on them. Once people walked towards the pattern, they would disappear. So this was a transportation array. Shining suddenly felt a sense of reality. 50 spirit pearls per person. The cultivator guarding the transportation array stretched out his hand to the two of them. I Ching habitually touched the storage bag beside him but touched nothing. His body stiffened and his face turned pale. What's wrong? Shining glanced at him. I Ching's face turned green again. He said in a low voice, I forgot that I lost my storage bag when I was fighting with Ruemi Master. Did you bring spirit pearls? What are spirit pearls? I Ching, guard. After transmigrating, Shining encountered the first crisis. No money. Chapter 10. If the two of you don't want to move, then move aside. Don't block the people behind. The guard impatiently waved the two away and continued to stretch out his hand. The guard took out a translucent pearl and handed it over, then walked towards the pattern. Master. I Ching's face was full of guilt. It was already a miracle that he survived the battle with Ruemi. He really forgot about losing his storage bag. It's all my fault. If I hadn't come in a hurry to deliver the soul-devouring Gonfalon, Master wouldn't have brought so many spirit stones. Heir? No, I really don't have money. Master, why don't you walk around the city first? 50 spirit pearls isn't much. I'll find a temporary job in the city. I'm sure I'll be able to earn enough for the teleportation fee before dawn, he suggested seriously. Forget it, let's go together. Shining nodded. It'll be faster if there's 2 of us. With that said, she directly pulled him out of the square. I Ching seemed to be very experienced in such matters. After asking around on the street for a while, he brought her to the tallest building in the city. When they reached the in-charge, he cupped his fists and said, Fellow Taoist, I heard that this place needs guards. The in-charge was polite and returned the greeting. He looked at the two of them and said, Indeed, the treasure convention of the jewelry pavilion needs a few guards with high cultivation. May I know who you are? I'm a sword cultivator, a golden core cultivator. A golden core sword cultivator. The in-charge was delighted and bowed again with excitement. So you're a Tao Lord. I wonder if you meet the requirements. Of course you meet the requirements. The in-charge smiled like a flower. The auction today was special. He originally thought that it would be good to find a foundation establishment cultivator, but he did not expect to find a golden core cultivator. There were not many golden core cultivators in the entire Xuanyu city, let alone a sword cultivator. Dao Lord, you only need to escort the person who obtained the treasure today back after the treasure convention. The reward is 2 inferior grade spirit stones. What do you think, Dao Lord? I Ching thought about it and asked, for the 2 of us 2 inferior grade spirit stones each. 2 of us? The in-charge was stunned. He turned to look left and right before noticing Shining. When did this person get here? He actually didn't notice him just now. Upon closer inspection, the other party did not have the slightest bit of spiritual energy. He was actually immortal. But when he thought that the other person was a golden core cultivator, he felt that it was impossible. He asked, fellow Taoist, are you also here to be a guard? Forgive me for being blind, but what is your cultivation level? I don't know either. I don't know, what kind of guard are you here for? The in-charge's mouth twitched. He could not afford to offend a golden core Dao Lord. Then, a total of 3 inferior grade spirit stones for the 2 of them. How about that? All right. Shining nodded. It was a package price. Previously, he had learned that a piece of low-grade spirit stone was equivalent to 100 spiritual beads, which was already enough for his travel expenses. I Ching swallowed the explanation that was about to come out of his mouth. Yes, it must be because Master wanted to keep a low profile. Please come with me. The steward brought the 2 of them to the 2nd floor. Only then did they realize that it was already filled with people, and they could faintly hear the voices of people shouting prices. It looked like a small auction. The steward had them wait in a small compartment. I Ching also started to take the initiative to explain the nature of this short-term job. This was a business. Usually, when a business obtained a rare Dharma treasure, Dharma artifact or elixir, they would hold an auction. Every time this happened, the shop would temporarily hire some cultivators to escort the people who had bid for the item back. It was also considered an after-sales service. However, these guards were usually foundation establishment cultivators, and all of them were itinerant cultivators. When I was in foundation establishment, I often took on such jobs. Don't worry, Master, this city is very small, and the area is not wide. Usually it won't be too far away. It will be over before daybreak and it won't take long. Oh. Shining nodded. All in all, this was a short-term job that saved time and effort. But, what did it mean to stop the chicken? They waited for close to 3 hours. The sky was already dark and the voices outside slowly stopped. People started to leave one after another. The in-charge brought them in front of a cultivator. I Ching took a look. Although the other party was only a young cultivator at the 9th level of Qi refinement, he was wearing a 3rd level Dharma robe. He must be the young master of an immortal cultivation family. He was also holding a black box in his hand, which should be the Dharma artifact that he had just bid for. Dao Lord, this fellow Taoist Lu is the customer who will be escorting today. You just need to send him to the Lu residence in the west. I Ching nodded and led the young man out. The other party was very polite. Perhaps he was surprised that a golden core cultivator was escorting him, but he seemed a little excited along the way. He talked about how he had bid for the treasure in his hand as he walked towards the west of the city. The Lu family was considered a well-known family within a radius of 100 miles, but it was still a distance away from Xuanyu City. What's more, after leaving the city, they had to pass through a bamboo forest. The forest was deep and full of leaves and there was a lot of miasma. It was not suitable for flying swords. This time he had bid for a rare 4th level Dharma artifact. For such an important customer, the Precious Treasures Pavilion naturally hired the best people to escort him, in case someone killed him and stole his treasure. Shining had no objections to this kind of simple physical work, but why did he drag it until nighttime before leaving? She was so sleepy. Dao Lord, after leaving this forest, we'll reach the Lu residence. The cultivator with the surname Lu pointed ahead. Thank you for the journey, Dao Lord. It's my duty. Don't stand on ceremony. I Ching looked around. I'm afraid this forest is dangerous. Don't worry, Dao Lord, Cultivator Lu said nonchalantly. Cultivator Lu casually said, although this Xuanyu city is a remote small city, it has always been peaceful. Nothing will happen here. It's better to be careful just in case. Dao Lord, you must be joking. Although I can't use sword kinesis in this forest, I often walk here and there have been no problems. Cultivator Lu was still nonchalant. It's all because the manager of the Precious Treasures Pavilion thought too much and wanted to find someone to escort me. Although 4th level Dharma artifacts are rare here, they are very common outside. Could it be that someone will really? Before he could finish speaking, a white light suddenly shone under his feet. An array formation instantly took shape. The ground shook and a large patch of thorny vines drilled out, smashing toward Cultivator Lu. Cultivator Lu jumped in fright. His hands lost their balance and the box he was holding just now fell. It was directly sucked in by the crazily growing thorny vines. My Dharma artifact. Be careful. I Ching pulled him back, summoned his spirit sword and swung it forward. A sharp sword chi swept toward the thorny vines, instantly cutting off a large patch. But in the next moment, more thorny vines emerged from the ground, surging toward them. I Ching had no choice but to push him back, away from the danger zone. He instructed, "Stay behind, don't leave my master's side." Cultivator Lu was stunned. Master? What master? He subconsciously looked back and after a while, he saw a woman in a gray robe behind him. He jumped in fright. When was this person here? Wasn't it just him and the Tao Lord on the road just now? When did another person appear? Thinking of I Ching's instructions, he immediately stood beside the woman. For a golden core Tao Lord to call her master, she must be able to ensure his safety. Thank you, fellow Taoist. He greeted politely, but saw that the other party was standing straight, with her head lowered, without any reaction at all. Thinking that the other party was a little angry at his negligence earlier, he subconsciously moved closer. It's my negligence, it's been hard on you. Please don't blame me, fellow Taoist. Fellow Taoist, fellow Taoist? Fellow Taoist, you. In the next moment he heard a light snoring sound. This is, sleeping. You can even sleep like this, are you freaking kidding me? Chapter 11. Haha, this demonic tone bell is finally mine. Suddenly, a man in his 40s or 50s appeared on the thorns in the center of the array. He was dressed in black and his face was covered in black stripes. He was excitedly holding the box that the young cultivator had thrown away. It's you. Cultivator Lu, who was about to wake him up, looked up at the man in shock. You know him? I Ching asked. He's the one who raised the price against me at the Precious Treasure Pavilion just now. The cultivator glanced at the black stripes on the man's face and shrank back. I didn't expect him to be a fiendish cultivator. Brat. The fiendish cultivator took out a bell-like Dharma artifact from the box and glared at the young cultivator. This demonic tone bell is a fiendish cultivator Dharma artifact. How dare a chi refinement brat like you fight with me for it? Nonsense, Dharma artifacts are not spirit artifacts. They don't need to recognize their owners. I was the one who bought it. You can buy it but you can't use it. The fiendish cultivator waved his hand and a large patch of thorns swelled crazily again, whipping toward I Ching. I Ching rushed directly into the patch of thorns and changed his sword technique. Suddenly, thousands of sword lights swam among the green thorns as if they were alive. In less than a moment, the densely packed vines were all cut into small pieces and fell to the ground. You're a golden core cultivator. The fiendish cultivator frowned, his face full of fear. He glared fiercely at Cultivator Lu, who was not far away. Brat, I didn't expect you to hire a golden core cultivator to protect you. What a pity. He quickly conjured a seal with his hand and laughed coldly. You've met me. You're destined to die here. The next moment, the array on the ground turned red. The thorns and vines that had been cut suddenly emitted a large amount of black chi, covering the entire bamboo forest in an instant. A bone-chilling cold invaded the surroundings. It's Yin Chi. I Ching tightened his grip on the sword in his hand and turned back to remind the cultivator, step back and seal your 5 senses to prevent the Yin Chi from entering your body. Cultivator Lu hurriedly did as he was told. As he set up a simple defensive array, he reminded the woman beside him, fellow Taoist, hurry and enter the array. The Yin Chi is no small matter. However, the only response he got was a series of snoring. Still sleeping. Speaking of which, how on earth did she walk all the way here? A degree. The surroundings, which were filled with Yin Chi, had already darkened significantly. However, more thistles and thorns had sprouted madly from the center of the fiendish cultivator's formation. With the cover of the black Chi, the fiendish cultivator's attacks became even more ferocious. I Ching chopped down a few thorns, only to discover that the other party was heading straight for the 2 people behind him. From the looks of it, this devil cultivator didn't just want to steal the treasure, he really wanted to kill the cultivator surnamed Lu. I Ching frowned. Without holding back, he mobilized all the spirit chi in his body. Changing his stance, the sword chi took shape. In an instant, dozens of swords condensed from spiritual chi appeared around him. They turned into thousands of sword lights and directly broke through the formation, cutting a large area of thorns together with the black chi into pieces. The array beneath his feet cracked and the fiendish cultivator spat out a mouthful of blood. He looked at I Ching in disbelief. How is this possible? Mine gathering array. You're a sword cultivator. His cultivation was clearly above him, and with this formation, it was impossible for him to win. Unless the other party was a sword cultivator. Only a sword cultivator could challenge someone of a higher level. Sword cultivators cultivated the Tao of the sword. They focused on the sharp blade in their hands and the sword intent in their hearts. They did not rely on any spells or elixirs. They focused on cultivating themselves. That was why they were stronger than cultivators of the same level. That was why it was more than 100 times harder to advance than other cultivators. It was so rare that he did not expect to bump into one. What's more, it was a golden core sword cultivator. Sword cultivator I Ching said. I Ching. The other party was shocked again. As if recalling something, his face turned pale. You're the sword cultivator who killed Rue Mi. His expression changed. He could not care less about the other party's reply. He waved his palm forcefully and created a skull-like black chi to attack I Ching. At the same time he turned around and fled. I Ching changed his sword technique and split the black chi with his sword. The spirit swords around him flew out and chased after the fiendish cultivator. In an instant, a sword array was formed around the fiendish cultivator, trapping him in the middle. The fiendish cultivator panicked. He tried desperately to break out of the sword array but to no avail. His face was so pale that there was not a trace of blood in it. He looked at I Ching in horror and hurriedly threw the Dharma artifact in his hand. Give it to you. I don't want it. Anyway, you guys are fine. Spare me. I was just possessed for a moment. I won't dare to do it again. I beg you. You're a fiendish cultivator. I Ching walked closer step by step. There was not a hint of emotion on his face. It's not your first time killing people and robbing their treasures. If I let you go, wouldn't I be helping the evildoer? I can't spare you this time. With that said, he raised his sword. The surrounding sword light shone brightly and thousands of sword chi shot towards the array. No. The fiendish cultivator screamed in horror. Just as he was about to be killed by the sword chi, there was a sudden ringing sound. The bell Dharma artifact that he had thrown out flew up and rushed directly towards I Ching's back. Tao Lord, be careful. Cultivator Lu exclaimed. I Ching's sword stopped. He reflexively turned around and slashed at the Dharma artifact. The fiendish cultivator in the array suddenly broke out of the array and hit his chest. Although he did not hit, he grabbed something. Not good. Soul-devouring gonfalon. Ha. The black chi on the fiendish cultivator grew and he rushed out of the sword array. In his hand was the soul-devouring gonfalon. I really got it without any effort. The man laughed even more wildly. He looked excited. I just wanted to snatch a small Dharma artifact. I didn't expect to see this gonfalon. You were stupid enough to bring it with you. Did you really think that this sword array could trap me? He had done it on purpose. He pretended to be trapped by the sword array and threw the demonic tone bell to attack him. His target was the soul-devouring gonfalon on him. I Ching frowned. He had been too careless. Although the gonfalon had been sealed, it would still leak ghost chi. He had thought that with it, his spirit chi would be able to control the ghost chi on the gonfalon and prevent it from hurting others. But he had forgotten that no matter how weak the ghost chi was, ordinary cultivators would not be able to feel it. Fiendish cultivators could see it at a glance. Let go of the soul-devouring gonfalon. Let go? The fiendish cultivator laughed coldly. Do you think I'm an idiot like Rue Mi? With such a treasure in hand, I can't believe I lost to you. So what if you're a sword cultivator? Today, I'm going to sacrifice you to the gonfalon. With that said, he summoned a stream of Yin Chi and slapped it directly at the seal on the gonfalon. Stop. I Ching flew forward to stop him, but it was too late. The seal he had set on the gonfalon shattered. The golden Dharma talisman broke into thousands of pieces. Thick ghost chi immediately spewed out and the temperature dropped. The soul-devouring gonfalon is mine. The fiendish cultivator laughed louder and louder. His eyes widened as he looked excitedly at the eerie ghost chi around him. From now on, no one below the soul formation stage will be my match. With tens of thousands of ghosts at my command, Before he could finish, he spat out a mouthful of blood. The situation had changed. Unbeknownst to him, a claw had suddenly appeared on his chest. The claw did not have a physical form. It was made of black chi, but it had pierced through his chest. In the palm of the claw was a still beating heart. The fiendish cultivator lowered his head in a daze and looked at the beating heart. Before he could react, the claw tightened and crushed the bloody heart. Ghost King. The fiendish cultivator said the last sentence, his eyes still wide open. He fell straight from the sky, no longer breathing. Chapter 12. A blood-colored banner floated high in the air, and a large amount of ghost chi was constantly overflowing from it. Mournful ghost cries could be heard, as if tens of thousands of ghosts were wailing at the same time. Something was breaking out of the banner. The bright moon was originally in the sky, but now it was covered with dark clouds and chilly winds were blowing everywhere. The ghost chi in the surroundings was so thick that it was hard to see clearly. A huge and ferocious black shadow appeared in front of them. It was hard to see what it looked like, but it was surrounded by ghost chi that was so thick that it was about to materialize. I Ching's heart tightened. He had long seen that the soul-devouring Gonfalon was about to produce a ghost king, so he was in a hurry to send it to the Black Heaven sect. He did not expect it to happen at this time. The yin chi released by the demonic cultivator must have accelerated its growth. The ghost king could only be controlled by the person who raised the banner. That devil cultivator had died from the backlash. In other words, this was a masterless ghost king that only knew how to kill. The ghost king has come into being. Leave this place. I Ching turned around and reminded loudly. Even nascent soul cultivators couldn't destroy the ghost king, let alone them. But it was already too late. The other party had already solidified into a physical form. In the next instant, a ghostly cry pierced through the air. That voice was shrill and ear-piercing, and it was impossible to tell whether it was male or female. It was clearly only one voice, but it was as if thousands of ghosts were wailing at the same time, directly exploding in his mind. A gust of chilly wind swept through the surrounding area, causing even the ground to tremble. I Ching felt his chi and blood surging. His feet sank and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Even his golden core seemed to be on the verge of exploding. As for the cultivator surnamed Lu, he was already lying on the ground from the impact of the roar. I Ching desperately mobilized his spirit chi to resist and just set up a defensive enchantment. Another ghostly cry rang out. He spat out another mouthful of blood and knelt down. The enchantment shattered, and his body felt as if it weighed 1,000 pounds. Under the pressure of the ghost king, he could no longer move. What should he do? In front of the ghost king, anyone below the deity transformation stage was completely powerless. The next attack would probably be. The other party had already opened his bloody mouth, and the next wave of screams was about to be heard. I Ching gritted his teeth and gripped his sword tightly. He had no choice but to fight. Suddenly, so noisy, a familiar female voice rang out first, and it was filled with a rage that seemed to have gone berserk. In an instant, the ghost king's roar was suppressed. The crowd fell silent. This voice, Master. A certain someone, who had been snoring with his head down, had already raised his head to glare at the gigantic ghostly figure in front of him. He was currently speaking in a loud voice, enunciating each word clearly. Shut up. The ghost king paused for a moment, and then seemed to be angered. Then it let out an even louder roar, and at the same time 4 black claws shot out from the black shadow. They extended infinitely and were extremely fast. Like lightning, they shot toward the only person standing in the field. I Ching panicked. He wanted to go over, but he could not move. Master, little dash. Before he could finish his warning, he saw Shening gently raise her hand and the menacing ghost claw instantly stopped in front of her chest. Caught him. The ghost king roared again. Its entire body moved a little impatiently, as if it wanted to pull its claws out. However, after trying for a long time, the other party's claws did not move at all. Shening raised her head and looked straight at the huge ghostly figure. Her eyes narrowed slightly, as if something terrifying was being emitted from her body. Murderous aura. What a thick killing intent. I Ching couldn't help but shiver. Why did he suddenly feel that Master looked a little scary? Roar. The ghost king became even more agitated and roared anxiously again. However, Xinying's eyes narrowed even more. There was a faint sound of something collapsing in the air. She said word by word, "What are you roaring for? Don't you know that there's someone Sleeping. She suddenly raised the hand that was grabbing the claws, and the huge ghostly figure that was as huge as a mountain was instantly lifted more than 100 feet off the ground. Then she directly fell down, and the ground shook as she smashed into the ground with a bang. Then she raised it again and smashed it down again and again. For a moment, the entire forest was filled with the sound of an earthquake crashing onto the ground and her angry questions. Don't you know that she's sleeping? Don't you know? Don't you know? I Ching, Cultivator Lu. Cultivator Lu trembled violently. So scary. She could actually use the Ghost King as a hammer. Was such a person really just a cultivator? I Ching was stunned. He suddenly understood what the rabbit monarch had said to him that day when they were repairing the house. Don't ever disturb her sleep. Otherwise the consequences will be dire. Now he knew. It was really dire. Initially he thought that there must be some other reason for the rabbit demons to say that his master had annihilated the 9 demon kings alone. On top of that, he did not acknowledge Zhang Xian as his master because of his high cultivation. Thus he had never asked Zhang Xian what realm he was at. But he didn't expect that his master was actually so powerful. As expected of his master, he had indeed chosen the right master. Dao Lordy, your master. Cultivator Lu, who had moved to I Ching's side, was just about to ask when he realized that I Ching was looking at the people in front of him with shining eyes. What's with the excitement, joy, and worship in your eyes, as if you can't control your desire to show off to the world? Just what kind of bodyguards did he find? Xin Ying's one-sided beating went on for a full half an hour. The powerful Ghost King was completely unable to resist. The original sound attack also changed from the initial howl, to roar, to meow, and finally there was only moaning. Zero. With every smash, the ghost chi on the Ghost King's body dissipated a little, and its body also became thinner. The originally mountain-like ghost shadow had now shrunk to a third of its original size. The previously deafening ghost cries were now just sounds of air. That Dao. Even Cultivator Lu could not bear to plead for mercy. F***ck. Shining turned her head abruptly, her murderous aura overflowing. No. Nothing, please continue. He silently swallowed his words. Yes, he did not see anything. Shining then turned back and continued to smash and smash. Each smash was louder than the one before. For no reason, I Ching suddenly remembered that the night he was schemed against by Ruimi, Master seemed to have used the same move. The only difference was that one was throwing left and right while the other was smashing up and down. Could it be that Master only knew this move? No. I Ching immediately shook off this ridiculous thought. Master was so powerful, how could she only know this kind of childish fighting move? Impossible. An hour later, the Ghost King was completely unable to make a sound. Shining finally stopped this one-sided beating because she had fallen asleep again. Straight face, seeing that the other party was indeed not moving, the Ghost King, which had already shrunk to half its original size, instantly turned into a gust of black chi and burrowed back into the soul-devouring gonfalon. It even moved a little to conceal the broken seal array on the gonfalon, as if desperately trying to hide itself behind the runes. The whole gonfalon was trembling. I Ching, Cultivator Lu. By the time Shining woke up, it was already the morning of the next day. She stretched lazily out of habit. When she opened her eyes, she saw 2 pairs of eyes staring straight at her. The only difference was that one pair was passionate, the other, scared? Good morning. She was startled and greeted him out of reflex. Good morning, Master. After a while I Ching replied. He glanced at her hesitantly. You're awake? Yes. Shining nodded and rubbed her shoulders. She casually asked, Oh yes, how exactly did I fall asleep last night? When I woke up, my back ached as if I had fought. The 2 of them. Didn't they just fight? Master, have you forgotten? I Ching asked tentatively. Why are you looking at me like that? What's wrong? Shining frowned. Why did they look like they were constipated? Did something happen last night? The 2 of them exchanged glances and answered resolutely in unison. No. Oh. Shining did not mind. She shook her especially sore left hand, only to find that most of the bamboo forest around her had fallen. There were bare branches and few leaves. Was there a strong wind yesterday? It was so strong. She took 2 steps forward and saw a huge pit in front of her, as if it had been smashed by something. The scenery here is really interesting. Oh yes, how far is your house? She turned back to look at the cultivator surnamed Lu. Cultivator Lu shivered and instinctively hid behind I Ching. No, not far. The bamboo forest is just ahead. We'll be there in less than a quarter of an hour. All right. She turned to I Ching. Disciple. What's your name again? Master, I'm I Ching. I Ching. Let's hurry and send him back. Yes, Master. I Ching immediately followed. He picked up a bell from the ground and handed it to Cultivator Lu. But, Ching, after sending him back, we should have enough for our travel expenses, right? Yes, Master. Do you think that whatever sect is hospitable? Master is from the Black Heaven sect. They are a big immortal cultivation sect with many disciples. As for whether they are hospitable, I don't know. Then do you think they will keep us for a meal? Huh. I'm so hungry. Chapter 13. Black Heaven Sect, Qingyun Hall. Say it again. What did that person bring up the mountain? Black Heaven Sect Master Shichio, who was sitting high up in the hall, stood up abruptly. Sect Master, that person said it was the soul-devouring Gonfalon, the disciple replied. Soul-devouring Gonfalon? It's actually the soul-devouring Gonfalon. Could it be the fiendish cultivator Ruemi? Shichio stepped forward and said angrily, what a good fiendish cultivator. He actually dared to break into my Black Heaven sect. I want to see what he's capable of. Brothers, come with me to destroy this demon. With that said, he prepared to lead a group of elders down the mountain. Senior brother, wait. Shichin, the hall master of the disciplinary hall, hurriedly stopped him. In my opinion, the person who came may not be that demon. What do you mean? Shichio was stunned. Senior brother, have you heard about the sudden appearance of fiendish cultivator Ruemi's myriad fiend's nest? Of course I have. Shichio nodded. But what does this have to do with him coming here? A few days ago, I specially went to the devil's nest to check it out. Shichin explained. I found that the harmful things inside had been completely destroyed. Although there was no trace of the devil, his lackeys who used living people to practice had all been killed, and they were all killed with a single sword strike. There was still sword chi left in the devil's den. Someone must have broken into it. You mean? Shichio was shocked. It was a sword cultivator. Sword cultivators were hard to find in the world. Anyone who could break into the myriad fiend's nest was at least a golden core sword cultivator. That's right. Shichin nodded. I think the person at the foot of the mountain dared to come to Black Heaven sect so openly and had the soul-devouring Gonfalon. Perhaps it was the person who broke into the myriad fiend's nest. Shichio's eyes lit up and his anger dissipated. Anyway, he looked at the disciples in the hall with a little excitement. Quick, invite that person up. He walked back to the main seat and sat down. In less than a quarter of an hour, a man came in from the door. He was wearing a long white robe and looked less than 20 years old. His whole body carried a sharp sword chi. Upon closer inspection, he was actually a golden core sword cultivator. He held a black flag in his right hand. Ghost chi could be faintly seen surging within it. It was indeed the legendary soul-devouring Gonfalon. Sword cultivator I Ching greets sect master Chio and perfected ones. He cupped his fists and bowed. I Ching. Shichio was shocked and stood up from his chair again. You're that itinerant cultivator I Ching. Yes, I Ching replied. He was even more surprised. Even the hall masters present turned to look at the people in the hall. It was because I Ching's name was too famous among itinerant cultivators and even fiendish cultivators. No one knew where he came from. When he appeared, he was already at the Jindan stage. It was rumored that he hated evil and loved to fight for justice. The number of fiendish cultivators who had died at his hands was innumerable. Itinerant cultivators had always been undisciplined, and there were all sorts of people. Most of them would either turn into demonic cultivators or specialize in stealing, killing, and robbing. He was like a clear stream in the itinerant cultivator world. He was as upright as steel. Any evil person who offended him would never have it good. He was also a sword cultivator and was already stronger than his peers. It was rumored that all fiendish cultivators below the Jindan stage had been beaten up by him. There were very few fiendish cultivators who came out to commit crimes. Fellow Taoist E, what brings you to Black Heaven sect this time? Shichio asked. I Ching held the flag in his right hand horizontally and said in a low voice, I'm here to hand this flag over to your sect. I would like to ask your sect to use its clear spirit chi to dispel the ghost chi on the flag and release the tens of thousands of resentful souls inside. This is the soul-devouring Gonfalon. That's right. Fellow Taoist E, I wonder if that fiendish cultivator Ruemi is dead. Sure enough, Shichio was a little agitated. But Hall Master Shi Chen, who was next to him, asked anxiously, "Were you the one who caused the appearance of the myriad fiend nest a month ago?" "Yes." Everyone exclaimed again. It was really him. The fiendish cultivator Rui Mi had always been a thorn in Black Heaven sect's side. He had committed many evil deeds, but his whereabouts were secretive. No one knew where his old nest, the myriad fiend nest, was. His cultivation level was also at the perfected Jindan stage. Coupled with the soul-devouring Gonfalon, even a nascent soul cultivator would not be able to gain an advantage over him. Black Heaven sect had tried to encircle and annihilate him many times but could not find his shadow. Unexpectedly he had solved the problem. He could actually defeat him above his level. He was indeed a sword cultivator. Haha, heroes indeed come from the young. Shichio laughed out loud and exchanged glances with the other hall masters. Everyone had the same thought. Such a talent must be kept at all costs. Thank you, fellow Taoist, for helping our sect get rid of Rui Mi, this scourge. Shichio smiled brightly and patted I Ching's shoulder in appreciation. Subduing the fiendish cultivator was not my doing alone, I Ching answered honestly. Fellow Taoist, you don't have to be so humble. This person has been a scourge and has long been wanted by all the sections. Shichio smiled even more happily and pointed to the Gonfalon in I Ching's hand. Now that he has been executed in our sect's jurisdiction, our sect will naturally be responsible for the matter of the soul-devouring Gonfalon. Thank you, Sect Master Chiu. I Ching directly handed over the Gonfalon in his hand. Since this matter has been settled, I Ching will take his leave now. Just as he was about to turn and leave, Shichio stopped him. Fellow Taoist, please wait. Shichio quickly set up a few sealing Dharma arrays on the soul-devouring Gonfalon and kept the Gonfalon. I see that you have an outstanding talent and are full of sword chi. I believe that you will be able to condense sword intent in a few days. However, comprehending sword intent is dangerous and cannot take the slightest bit of provocation. Fellow Taoist, it will be even more difficult for you to be alone. Have you ever thought of joining a sect and receiving its protection? Thank you, Sect Master, for your kind intentions. I Ching shook his head. I have no intention of joining a sect. Fellow Taoist, don't be in a hurry to refuse. Shichio continued to persuade him. Although our Black Heaven sect is not very famous, we are still considered the leader of the 3 sects and 4 schools. Among the 3 sects and 4 schools, only our sect has a deep understanding of sword cultivators. Our uncle master is a soul formation sword cultivator. All these years he has always wanted to take in a direct disciple. With your qualifications, if you stay in our sect, I believe you will definitely catch his eye. It was such a great honor to become a disciple of a soul formation sword cultivator that no cultivator would refuse. However, I Ching's brows furrowed. Sorry, I already have a master. What? Aren't you an itinerant cultivator? Shichio was shocked and blurted out, Who is your master? Me. Just as he finished speaking, a claw suddenly appeared in front of him. The next moment, a magnified face appeared in front of him. I say, big brother, it's not good for you to poach me in front of me, is it? Shichio was shocked and took a step back. Were you? Where did you come from? I've always been here. Please, she had clearly come in with her chef disciple. I Ching, on the other hand, took half a step back out of habit. With some pride, he straightened his back and introduced himself seriously, My master, Shining. Chapter 14. Shining? Oh. He had never heard of her before. The point was, when did this person start standing here? He was a dignified nascent soul cultivator, yet he did not notice her at all. Shichio looked at his fellow disciples around him in disbelief, only to see that they had the same surprised expressions. His heart sank and he glanced at her warily. He even released his divine perception, only to find that there was no spirit chi on her. So she was immortal. Shichio heaved a sigh of relief. He must have been too shocked by Rui Mi's execution to notice this person. But I Ching, a golden core sword cultivator, actually had a mortal woman as his master. This was strange. Although sword cultivation was difficult, as long as one formed their core, their future was limitless. Why did he have such a master? Miss Shin. Shichio smiled and greeted her. No matter how he looked at her, she looked like a mortal. Thinking about it carefully, perhaps this person was a mortal master that I Ching had acknowledged before he started cultivating. Yet he did not forget his master even after stepping into the immortal Tao. This showed his character. Shichio wanted to accept this person into the sect even more. Since fellow Taoist already has a master, Of course we will not force you to choose another one. He smiled and continued to persuade, however, our sect has always had the position of guest elder. Fellow Taoist is already a Golden Core Tao Lord, why not be a guest elder in our sect? I Ching frowned hesitantly. Shi Qiu immediately said, although guest elder is nominally a member of our sect, we have never restricted guest elders. Fellow Taoists can still travel as usual. But in the future we will take care of you more outside, so that when you encounter such matters that require the soul-devouring Gonfalon, there will be no need to be so troublesome. Just let the disciples bring it back to the sect. Indeed, it was more convenient to have a sect. Not to mention anything else, just the matter of Ruemi this time. If he had a sect behind him, perhaps he would not have to wait for the soul-devouring Gonfalon to produce a ghost king. Moreover, our sect has always given preferential treatment to guest elders. Shi Qiu continued to persuade, not only are you free to choose from the cultivation techniques in the Dharma repository, there is also a separate cave abode. There will also be a corresponding monthly supply of spirit stones and elixirs. If fellow Taoist has any other requests, please feel free to mention them. Are meals provided? I Ching was about to reject when Shening suddenly spoke. What? Shi Qiu was stunned and couldn't react for a moment. What kind of request was this? On the other hand, I Ching, who had been unmoved just a moment ago, suddenly seemed to recall something, and a regretful expression appeared on his face. He had actually forgotten that his master had not eaten breakfast. As a disciple he was too incompetent. Sect Master Shi, do the disciples of the sect have a daily supply of spirit rice and spirit fruits? He asked in all seriousness. There is. Is this a very important condition? Wasn't that something that only outer sect disciples who hadn't achieved grain liberation needed? If you like it, you can get it from the External Affairs Hall. All right, I'm in. He agreed just like that? Didn't he need to think about it? Sigma, Sect Master, please arrange a place with a kitchen for me. I Ching cupped his hands and said, all right. Shi Qiu blankly beckoned for a disciple to lead the way. I Ching had already led his men out of the hall in a hurry. From afar they could still hear their conversation. So hungry. Fellow Taoist, please lead the way. Hurry up, my master is hungry. How much longer will it take? Don't worry, master. We'll be there soon. I'll make some soup today. I've been starving for too long, I need to warm my stomach. Yes, master, no problem, master. Shi Qiu, Shi Qin, all the hall masters, what kind of master and disciple was this? Inside the pure palace there were arrays all over. In the middle of the golden array, a black flag was fluttering in the wind. Large amounts of ghost chi were surging on it. In the middle of the array was a tattered array, but there was not a trace of ghost chi leaking out. The four nascent soul elders were sitting around, looking up at the flag with shock on their faces. What's going on? Why are our spells completely useless? Shi Qin frowned and looked at the ghost flag in the middle. If we don't release the evil spirits inside, we can't purify the ghost chi inside. But the seal on it has clearly been undone, why is there still no trace of ghost chi leaking out? This flag was made by Ruemi. Fiendish cultivators have always been cunning. There must be a mystery in this flag that we haven't seen through, Shi Qiu answered with a serious expression. What should we do? If this continues, the ghost chi inside the flag will only get thicker and thicker. Shi Qiu clenched his fists by his side and looked at Shi Qin. Let's ask Uncle Master to come here. He has always been the most knowledgeable about array formations. Shi Qin immediately took out a Dharma talisman and conjured a hand seal. The Dharma talisman immediately turned into a stream of light and flew out. In a short while, a male voice rang out in the palace. What's the matter? Why are you calling me so urgently? A figure suddenly appeared in the palace. He looked extremely young, dressed in a blue and white robe and holding a jade flute in his hand. His shoulders were draped with black hair and his face was like jade. His whole body exuded a clear spirit chi, as if he was an immortal who was untainted by the mortal world and would ascend to heaven in the next moment. Greetings, Uncle Master Lone Moon. The four of them stood up and bowed. And? The man nodded his head, his expression still as indifferent as ever. He looked around before fixing his gaze on the flag above. Soul-devouring Gonfalon. Why is it here? Have you dealt with that fiendish cultivator? Uncle Master, Ruemi is indeed dead, but it was not our doing. Shi Qiu bowed respectfully and explained, he was killed by an itinerant cultivator, and this Gonfalon was sent by him to purify the ghost chi. Lone Moon responded indifferently. He conjured a hand seal and struck the soul-devouring gonfalon, but the flag still did not react. It did not even shake. Lone Moon was stunned. This soul-devouring gonfalon could actually withstand the spells of a soul formation cultivator. Uncle Master, the four of us have already tried just now. No matter what spell we used, this ghost flag did not react. I wonder why. Shichio explained. Maybe it's because of the sealing array formation on the flag. Lone Moon frowned and looked up at the gonfalon carefully. After a while he said, I wonder who set up this array. It looks incomplete, but it has such power. Shichio suddenly thought of something and immediately said, this array could have been set up by that sword cultivator. Sword cultivator? Lone Moon turned around. It's a Dao Golden Core Dao Lord. He's quite famous among the itinerant cultivators. Shichio smiled and said, he has already joined our sect as a guest elder. His name is I Ching. What? Lone Moon was shocked. He could not even maintain his cold expression. What did you say his name was? Shichio was stunned. He did not understand why Uncle Master was so shocked, but he repeated, Sword Cultivator I Ching. I Ching, it's really I Ching. Where is he now? Lone Moon became even more agitated. He grabbed the man and asked anxiously. Shichio pointed in a direction. Inyuan Peaks. Before he could finish speaking, the person in front of him disappeared like the wind. The remaining four people looked at each other. After a while, they remembered the matter at hand. Uncle Master, the soul-devouring gonfalon. What should we do? Chapter 15. Lone Moon flew to Inyuan Peak at the fastest speed in his life before he remembered that he did not ask Shichio which cave abode he was staying in. He had to use his divine perception to scan the entire peak before he found a strange figure in a small courtyard at the bottom of the peak. He calmed himself down and flew directly in that direction. He had not heard his own heartbeat for a long time. 300 years, a whole 300 years, the person he had been waiting for finally appeared. Lone Moon clenched his fists by his side and took a deep breath to regain his usual calm expression before he walked into the small courtyard. He was finally going to see the future strongest person in the three realms, Sword Immortal I Ching. He looked up to find the aura of the sword chi. He did not know what he actually looked like and what he was doing now. Was he practicing swordsmanship, comprehending sword intent, or cooking? Why the hell was he cooking? What happened to the promised strongest person in the three realms, the promised Sword Immortal? Wasn't this a little too down to the earth? For all, Lone Moon's heart stopped and he felt like he was going to spit out a mouthful of blood. He was blind, he had to be blind. That, Ching, are you done yet? Master, please wait, I'll be done soon. I Ching waved the spatula even faster. Remember to put more meat in. Yes, Master, no problem, Master. Lone Moon. He faintly heard the sound of disillusionment. He stood in front of the courtyard for a full quarter of an hour until the figure in the kitchen walked quickly into the house with the dishes. He then remembered his purpose. Thinking about the time now, I Ching was still a golden core cultivator and not the future famous immortal of the three realms. It was normal. He tucked his chin and walked in. May I know which supremacy you are? Before he entered, the other party had already noticed him and turned to look at him. Lone Moon's heart settled and a trace of admiration flashed in his eyes. He was indeed the future Sword Immortal. He was only a golden core cultivator, but he could tell his cultivation at a glance. It seemed that he was very sensitive to spirit chi. Instantly, he felt that the disillusionment had been restored a little. Lone Moon, he replied in a low voice. His hands were behind his back and he looked as cold as ever. So it's supremacy, Lone Moon. A look of surprise flashed across I Ching's eyes. He immediately stood up and cupped his fists in greeting. In the entire immortal cultivation world, there was no one who did not know the name Lone Moon. He was a genius in immortal cultivation. Rumor had it that he reached the soul formation level in just 300 years and was one of the 3 soul formation supremacies of the Shen sect. Although his cultivation level was not as high as the other soul formation cultivators, he was the only sword cultivator among the soul formation cultivators. If they really fought, no one would be a match for him. As a fellow sword cultivator, I Ching had naturally paid attention to this person. Lone Moon seemed to be used to everyone's shocked expressions. He said calmly, "You're the golden core sword cultivator they were talking about?" "I am indeed a sword cultivator." Although he did not know why the other party had come, I Ching still nodded frankly. He glanced at him. "You were born with a sword physique. You are indeed the most suitable to cultivate the sword." I Ching paused and frowned. This was the first time someone could tell that he was born with a sword constitution. You don't have to worry too much. As if he could tell what he was worried about, Lone Moon said in a low voice, born with a sword constitution is rare, but I don't care about it. Born with a sword constitution, excellent qualifications for sword cultivation, it was indeed easy for people to be jealous and take over. Looking at his expression, he guessed that this had happened to him many times before. May I know why supremacy has come this time? Lone Moon took a step forward and said, since you have already entered my Xian Tian sect, of course I will not tell anyone about your sword constitution. It's not easy to cultivate as a sword cultivator. From today onwards, you shall become my personal disciple. There's no need for that. You don't have to thank me. What did you say? Lone Moon paused and swallowed the words he was about to say. Did he hear wrongly? A soul formation cultivator wanted to take him as a disciple. He actually rejected. His signature cold expression froze for a moment, and he blurted out, why? Because. Before I Ching could answer, the sound of food being swallowed came from the side. A female voice suddenly interrupted, his master is me. Another person snatching the chef's job. What? Only then did he see a woman sitting at the wooden table in the house. Her clothes were dusty and her hair was disheveled. She was holding a pair of chopsticks, the corners of her mouth moving up and down as she ate. More than half of the various dishes on the table were swept away. Suddenly he thought of a word that he had not heard for a long time. Foodie? Who was this person? He began to quickly search for names in his memory, but found that none of them matched. When he first came in, he was so shocked by the way I Ching was cooking that he did not hear their conversation clearly. He did not expect that this woman with no spirit chi at all was actually his master. So a sword immortal had a master? The plot did not mention that. You are my master, Shining, I Ching answered with a respectful expression. He did not forget to refill her bowl of rice. The corner of Lone Moon's mouth twitched. He really did not expect that I Ching already had a master. And from the looks of it, their relationship was very deep. He looked up and down at this girl who was still crazily eating. For a moment he could not figure out how deep the other party's depth was. He could only ask tentatively. This sister. Miss, I am very curious. May I know what your cultivation level is? I don't know. Speaking of which, what exactly was cultivation? He did not know. It seemed like she really had not cultivated before. Then are you good at spells and swordsmanship? No. Shining answered honestly. How about refining weapons? I don't know. Then elixirs? Never heard of it. Imperial beasts? No. Then how dare you take me in as a disciple? Fu *k. Lone Moon's eyes turned and he got the same answer as Shichio. This girl must be I Ching's master before he cultivated, so she was really immortal. Lone Moon was instantly relieved. You are a person who values relationships and righteousness. He nodded approvingly at I Ching. In that case, I will allow you to continue to take care of her after you become my disciple. He could still understand the thoughts of a teacher for a day. Supremacy, you misunderstand. I have no intention of joining another sect. I Ching still refused. You. Lone Moon was suddenly a little angry. He was a soul formation cultivator after all. He had already taken the initiative to take him in as a disciple, but Shining actually rejected him again and again. Even if he was a future sword immortal, there was no need to put on such airs. It is said that a teacher for a day is a father for life. But we immortal cultivators are naturally different from mortals. For the sake of your immortal path, there is no need to adhere to this kind of etiquette. Supremacy, please go back. I Ching frowned and faintly felt some anger. Although I Ching am only a golden core cultivator, I will never betray my sect. With that said, he turned to Shining and said solemnly, Master, rest assured, I will only be your disciple in this lifetime. But the other party only responded vaguely, oh. Eat rice, eat rice, eat rice. You stubborn brain, why can't you talk it through? Lone Moon was so angry that he paced back and forth. He really wanted to turn around and go back whether he wanted to be a disciple or not. But for the sake of his own future, he had no choice but to hitch a ride on this boat. Taking a deep breath, he continued to persuade, I say brother, I am doing this for your own good. I am a soul formation supremacy after all. If you become my disciple, you will directly become a rich second generation. What can you not have? Aren't you about to cultivate sword intent? I can help you. No need, what my master knows is already enough for me to learn my whole life. I Ching was completely unmoved, looking proud that he had a master. There is no need to choose a sect again. You? Seeing that he was so stubborn, Lone Moon could only use the method of provocation. If your master treats you well, she will also be willing for you to become my disciple. After all, she is only a mortal. What the hell does she know about immortal cultivation? In the future, if you... Supremacy, be careful with your words. I Ching slammed the table fiercely as if he was really angry. My master knows a lot, not just anyone can comment on her. You can criticize me, but you can't criticize my master. Lone Moon was speechless. Seeing that he looked like he would turn against him if he said another word, he hurriedly changed his words. It was a slip of the tongue. He turned to look at Shining, who was still calmly eating rice, and rolled his eyes. He could only use a roundabout way to save the situation. That girl? I Ching is indeed a rare talent. If he becomes my disciple, it will not be a dream for him to soar in the future. Now that he is not willing because of old times, why don't you help me persuade him? Shenying's hand that was eating rice finally stopped. She blinked and looked up to glance at him. Speaking of which, you people in the immortal circle have a trend of poaching people. Do you still let others hand you a shovel? Don't worry, I sincerely want to take him as my disciple. If you have any questions, you can ask me. Lone Moon hurriedly added. All right. Shining sighed and put up the chopsticks in her hand. I only have one question. Speak. How long have you transmigrated? Not long, just about 300 years. A while later, Lone Moon, holy shit. Chapter 16. Master, Supremacy. Lone Moon is here again, I Ching said hesitantly as he cleared the dishes. Oh. The person who was lying on the table and didn't want to move after eating his fill answered lazily. This is already the 5th day. I Ching continued. He stands at the door every day but doesn't come in. I don't know why. Even if he wanted to stand, he still pulled the leaves on the fence. The one at the door was almost stripped bare by him. Maybe it's a little hard to accept being exposed right in front of you. Shining flipped over nonchalantly and continued to lie on her stomach. It'll be fine once you get used to it. Expose? He was stunned for a moment. He suddenly remembered that 5 days ago, his master had indeed asked him a question, and he had run out as if his buttocks were on fire. From that day onwards, he began to put on a constipated face, standing at the door every day and looking around. Alright, what does master mean by transmigration? Could it be some kind of profound Taoist technique? It's a little troublesome to explain. Shining frowned. A moment later she said, you can take it as, he used to be from the same village as me. I Ching was shocked. So master and him have such a deep fate. No wonder Supremacy. Lone Moon came here every day but did not enter. As it turned out, it was because he was too close to his hometown and wanted to reminisce with his Shifu. Wait a minute. If Lone Moon and master were from the same hometown, Lone Moon would definitely have heard of such a powerful person like master. Previously, when he wanted to take him in as a disciple, he might not have recognized him at first. Now that he had pointed it out, could it be that his current behavior, was he thinking of the past and worshipping him, and wanted to become his master's disciple? Oh. I Ching's heart tightened, and he felt a gust of melancholy stuck in his chest. Suddenly, he felt that the figure at the door was somewhat unpleasant to the eye. He had just become an apprentice and someone was already jealous. As he thought about it, he swiftly finished washing the dishes, summoned his spirit sword, and knelt down heavily in front of the table. What are you doing? Shining was shocked. I Ching looked up expectantly. Master, please guide me in my cultivation. Shining froze and a drop of cold sweat trickled down her face. It's coming, chef is going to start learning. Cultivation. What exactly is cultivation? What to do? All those years of acting tough, it was time to pay it back. Sigma, degree winky face. There's no need to rush, right? I'm not in a hurry. He said with a resolute expression. Thank you for your concern in the past few days, master. Now that your disciple's injuries have completely healed and your spirit chi has recovered, I can start cultivating. You really can? Don't, I can be more considerate. Yes. He nodded heavily. Seeing Xin Ying's troubled expression, he suddenly thought of something. Is master unwell? No. Is being sleepy after eating too much counted as being sick? He heaved a sigh of relief. Master, please guide me. Master, are you worried about my current level of swordsmanship? Seeing that she did not reply for a long time, I Ching guessed, it was I Ching's negligence. Why don't we change the venue and I'll demonstrate to Master? Why don't you guide me from the side? Could she say no? I Ching stood up immediately and conjured a seal excitedly. Out of habit, he brought Shening up on his sword. He flew out of the mountain. Black Heaven sect was located in the Black Sea. The entire sect floated on the surface of the sea. There were tens of thousands of islands of different sizes below it. I Ching landed directly on the largest island. Compared to the other islands, the terrain here was flat. There were only large pieces of rocks in a 5-kilometer radius. It was indeed a good place to practice swordsmanship. It seemed that I Ching had been studying the terrain these few days. He was indeed a diligent chef, disciple. Only, why are you following me? Shening turned to look at Lone Moon, who landed right behind them. He was dressed in a blue and white robe. None of your business. Lone Moon rolled his eyes. He could not even be bothered to speak. He completely let himself go. Aren't you going to teach students? The entire Black Heaven sect is my territory. Do you have to charge me for watching from the side? Xin Ying's mouth twitched. Did this guy eat dynamite? His style was completely different from before. Lone Moon was really angry. He had been in this world for hundreds of years. His journey was considered smooth sailing. His luck was off the charts. He could casually cultivate to become a soul formation cultivator. He thought that his life would be so smooth. In his heart, he almost thought of himself as one of those main characters who transmigrated. Although he later discovered the truth of this world, fortunately, it had nothing to do with him. The day his identity was exposed, to be honest, he was really shocked. He wanted to confirm it, but he was afraid to confirm it with her. This feeling of suddenly finding out that he was not the only sweetheart of God, who could understand. Who could understand? He thought about it for a whole 5 days and reluctantly accepted this fact. Only then did he slowly come to his senses. It was obvious that this person called Shening was the same as him. She also knew the plot. Moreover, she had made the same plan as him. In other words, he had been King cut off. For all, Ngunguo, the more he thought about it, the angrier he got. He took a few deep breaths to suppress the resentment in his heart. He said, "Hey, I have something to talk to you about. Come with me first. Let's talk." Shening was stunned. Before she could reply, I Ching took a step forward. Intentionally or unintentionally, he stood between the two of them. Master is about to teach me cultivation. I'm afraid it would be inconvenient for me to be here. If supremacy has something to do, why don't you come another day? Don't think that he did not know that he wanted to be apprenticed to Lone Moon. He was stunned. Was it an illusion? Why did he feel that the future sword immortal wanted to kill him? It was all Xin Ying's fault. She must have said something that caused the sword immortal to misunderstand him. This scheming TC. I'll only be here for a while. Master is not free. You can practice later. You cannot be careless when it comes to cultivation. I have serious matters to attend to. Supremacy, please forgive me. Lone Moon. Scheming Shen. I Ching. I'm Master's disciple. Shening. You guys can go back for dinner after a few more sentences. Alright, you guys teach. I won't say anything, alright? Lone Moon could only take a step back. He glared at Shening. Don't you want to teach? You teach. He wanted to see what she could teach. Don't think that he could not tell that she was immortal. It would be strange if she knew immortal sword techniques. In order to make the sword immortal acknowledge her as his master, she must have said something. Now was the perfect opportunity to expose her. When I Ching saw her true colors, it would not be too late for him to accept her as his disciple. I Ching then turned around and picked up his spirit sword. Master, the sword technique that I'm cultivating now is called the Heaven Shaking Manual. It's a set of sword techniques that I created myself. Please teach me, Master. With that said, he took 2 steps forward and began to demonstrate his sword techniques. Every move was extremely sharp. Large swathes of sword light enveloped the entire island in an instant, causing large amounts of sand and stones to fly in the air. His figure disappeared directly in the sword light, as if he had already melted into the sword technique. The more Lone Moon watched, the more surprised he became. This was the sword technique that made the sword immortal famous. It was just a simple move and it already had such power. If spirit chi was added, it would probably be more than 10 times more powerful. And there was already a shadow of sword intent in every move. It was no wonder that he could defeat Ruemi. Chapter 17. I Ching demonstrated this set of sword technique for more than an hour. The moves were ever-changing and extremely powerful. Although he tried his best to restrain the sword chi, the entire island was still shaved off when he retracted it. Master, this is the sword technique I usually use. I Ching cupped his fists and bowed to Shining. He looked straight at her, his eyes shining. Shining subconsciously praised, not bad. Just a little slow. Thank you, Master. He became even more excited. Please guide me, Master. Shining stiffened. Sweat began to form on her forehead. Guide what? She didn't know anything about sword techniques at all. Lone Moon, who was at the side, laughed and said gleefully, That's right, give him some guidance then. This? Did Master not bring a suitable weapon? I Ching hurriedly handed the spirit sword in his hand to her. It's my carelessness. Why don't you use mine first? Do you have to be so considerate? Quick, guide me. Lone Moon's smile deepened. He even pushed her and said in a strange tone, If you don't hurry, the sun is going to set. Master. Shining looked at the sword in her hand. Actually, I think you were pretty good just now. She didn't need to change it anymore. Che, forget it. Before I Ching could speak, Lone Moon sneered. Stop pretending. If you can use one move today, I'll be your disciple. You? Shining glanced at him. Do you know how to cook? Why would I cook for myself? Well then don't. You? Who the hell wants to be your disciple? For all? Shining ignored him. She took 2 steps forward and looked at the flat island. She held the sword in her hand. How did the chef disciple use it just now? It seemed like she had to raise it first. She raised the sword with one hand above her head. It looked like she was holding a dumbbell. There was no order to it, not to mention the moves. Lone Moon couldn't help but laugh again. He watched as Shining swung the sword down forcefully, waiting for her to fall off the horse. Suddenly, a storm rose from the ground, and the sword transformed into a sword light that was as bright as the sun, traversing between heaven and earth. With a wave of Shinying's hand, it swept across the entire island. With a loud bang, the entire island was split into 2. However, the sword light did not stop there. It continued to fly into the distance and swept past the Black Heaven sect not far away. It split a floating peak on the upper right and went straight into the sea, eventually disappearing into the sky. The white clouds in the sky were split into 2, and the entire surface of the sea suddenly sank, the seawater separating from the middle. A bottomless crack extended into the distance. The entire world seemed to have been cut by a knife. There was only the sound of seawater filling up the crevice. I Ching, Lone Moon, ugh. I think I used too much strength. Looks like I'm not suited for using swords. Shining scratched her head and threw the sword back to Chef. Well, what are we eating tonight? The 2 of them stared blankly for a long while. Finally, the experienced I Ching snapped back to his senses and replied reflexively, Mapo, tofu, right? Master was indeed master. Omega, all right, when are we going back? Immediately. Master is tired today. Shall we have an extra dish? Good chef, disciple. Lone Moon, so scary. Wait, she wanted to say chef just now, right? That must be it. Why don't we go back and prepare now? Master, wait. I Ching took a deep breath and looked at Shining with a serious expression that he had never shown before. Please forgive me for my stupidity. I have not understood the intention of Master's move. I didn't mean it. I don't understand. Master just waved it very simply. Why did it have such power? Shinying's mouth twitched. How would she know? Maybe I have more strength? Strength? Lone Moon, who are you kidding? Is this something that can be done with strength? Utensils? Haven't you heard of it? Shining said seriously. 1 person can defeat 10 people with great strength. Lone Moon, this is obviously copied from a martial arts novel. Only a ghost would believe it. Utensils? What Master means is that as long as one's ability is up to par, the moves and sword techniques are actually not important. Lone Moon, you really believe it? Degree, 1 person can defeat 10 people with great strength? 1 person can defeat 10 people with great strength. I Ching murmured. Suddenly the spirit chi in his body surged. Sword chi overflowed. Even the spirit chi in the surroundings began to surge. Lone Moon, damn, what the hell is an epiphany? This is obviously a lie, brother. Chef, what's wrong with you? Seeing that he suddenly sat down, Shining could not help but reach out and poke him. Don't touch him. Lone Moon slapped her hand away. He's in an epiphany. You will be in danger if you interrupt him. What kind of master is she if she can't even tell? And now she doesn't even change her way of addressing him. Is it really okay to call him chef? Lone Moon suppressed the complaints in his heart. He quickly conjured a seal and set up layers of defensive arrays around I Ching. The duration of an epiphany varied. Looking at the rich spirit chi and sword chi around him, it was probably a big epiphany. How long would it take? The worst thing to be interrupted during an epiphany was this. This array was necessary. It seemed that to be on the safe side, he had to go back and ask the sect master to send some people to guard him. He turned back to look at Shining, who was still in a daze. The corner of his mouth twitched. Why did he suddenly not want to take in a disciple? He looked again at the two halves of the island. The seawater was still separated. And the floating peak of the Black Heaven sect that was split in half. Wait. Why did he feel that the floating peak looked a little familiar? Holy shit. My Lingyun Peak. 5 days later. Speaking of which, impromptu, you dare to call me impromptu chef? Before Shining could finish, the figure cooking in the kitchen turned his head sharply. Believe it or not, I will really beat you up. Shining paused. She had to change her words. Hey, my disciple hasn't woken up yet? It's been 5 days. How can an epiphany be so simple? Lone Moon glared at the person who was paralyzed on the stone table. Also, my name is Lone Moon, not that. It's fine if you can't remember your own disciple's name. After all, we are from the same hometown. Remember my name well. Sigh. I haven't eaten for 5 days. She didn't even have the strength to remember names. 5 days. Lone Moon directly threw the thing in his hand at her. Then what have you been eating these days? Pig feed? She caught it and muttered softly, it's not even as good as pig feed. Looking closely, she realized that it was a spatula. She hurriedly threw it back. Quickly flip it, the pot is going to burn. The corner of Lone Moon's mouth twitched. Something in his mind snapped. He raised his hand and threw the spatula on the ground. What did you just say? Say it again if you have the guts. He tore off the apron on his body and angrily walked towards her. I'm a dignified soul formation supremacy, and I've never cooked for anyone in my previous and current lives. Do you think I want to cook for you? Whoever wants to do it can do it, I'm not doing it. I didn't ask you to come. Wasn't he the one who took the initiative to run over and ask her what she needed? What's more, weren't you the one who asked me to swing that sword that day? If she didn't swing that sword, her disciple wouldn't have had an epiphany. If he didn't have an epiphany, someone would have cooked for him. If someone cooked for him, naturally she wouldn't have to eat his pig feed. If not for the fact that his Lingyun Peak had been split open by her, did she think he would have been willing to come here? It was definitely not because he wanted to chat with his only fellow countryman. He took a deep breath. Forget it, he wouldn't argue with a woman. He turned back to look at Shining, who was still lazily looking like a weakling. That question popped up again. Hey Shining, be serious. Where did you get that terrifying ability from? That sword was simply like it could split the sky and split the earth. Didn't I tell you before? She replied lazily. I don't know either. You really don't know? The day I transmigrated, it was like this. Lone Moon frowned. To be able to split open the sea with a sword, as far as he knew, there was no spell that could do that. Even the most powerful perfected soul formation cultivator in this world couldn't do that. She looked like an ordinary person. There was no spirit chi in her body. She didn't even have the basic sense of spirit chi that a cultivator should have. How could she have such power? What was even more ridiculous was that she actually didn't know the reason herself. He thought for a long time but still couldn't figure out the reason. He could only give up. He turned around and threw the mess of food in front of Shining. Hurry up and eat. After eating, we still have to go to the island to see how your disciple's epiphany is going. Sigh, why did he feel that he had found 2 big problems for himself? Shining poked at the mess and didn't pick it up for a long time. Her expression became even more disgusted. The word pig feed was written all over her face. After poking at it for a long time until a certain someone was about to go berserk, she finally stuffed it into her mouth. It really tasted terrible, but it was better than making it herself. Chapter 18. Lone Moon was just about to drag this lazy bum to the island when a disciple hurried over and hurriedly bowed to him. Greetings, Supremacy. You're a disciple of the Central Peak? Lone Moon frowned. Why is Shichio looking for me? Venerable One, the sect master said that the soul-devouring Gonfalon has changed. Venerable One, please go and check it out quickly. The soul-devouring Gonfalon has not been purified. Lone Moon was shocked. He had already set up a purification array 3 days ago. By right, no matter how strong the evil spirit inside was, it should have been purified. Could something have happened? Let's go to Pure Clarity Palace. He waved at the disciple and was about to fly on his sword when he turned around and pulled Shining up with him. You're not allowed to sleep. Didn't you bring that banner? Come with me to take a look. How troublesome. The two of them quickly flew to Jingqing Palace. The moment they entered, Shiqiu greeted them with a solemn expression. Martial uncle. Shiqiu cupped his fists and bowed. He turned around and pointed inside. You're finally here. Look at this soul-devouring gonfalon. Lone Moon looked up. Indeed, the ghastly flag was still floating in the air. It was as black as ink and had not changed at all from 3 days ago. The purification formation he had set up on the ground was still glowing with white light, and the other hall masters were also sitting around the formation eyes, activating their spiritual qi. What? Could it be that the ghost qi in this banner is immune to my formation? That's not the case. Shiqiu hurriedly explained, it's just that I don't know why, even though the evil spirits in the flag were corroded by the spirit qi in the array, they did not come out of the flag so they could not be completely purified. What? Even the purification array can't force the evil spirits out? If they don't come out, do they want their souls to scatter? Indeed. Shiqiu's expression turned even more solemn. Evil ghosts have always been most afraid of spirit qi. Now that 3 days have passed and they still haven't come out, I'm guessing that within this streamer, there is already a ghost king. The ghost king's ghost qi surges to the heavens, but this banner is very clean. It should be said that it was too clean without a trace of ghost qi leaking out. This was also the reason why they did not ask I Ching about the situation of the soul-devouring gonfalon in the beginning. They thought that the gonfalon was not strong enough. Now that he wanted to ask again, he was in a state of epiphany. Perhaps this is a special ghost king. Shiqiu said, rumor has it that the ghost king has a powerful ability that is different from other evil spirits. Moreover, when it is born, it can cause the sky and earth to change and cause a change. 5 days ago, the water of the mysterious sea suddenly broke in the middle. An island on the sea and Uncle Master's Lingyun Peak were destroyed at the same time. Perhaps it was also a sign that the Ghost King was born. The corner of Loneman's mouth twitched. He finally understood what he was talking about. Faintly feeling annoyed, he patted him on the shoulder and said, Shiqiu, you're thinking too much. No one knew better than him how Ling Yunfeng had disappeared. He didn't even have the time to explain. It definitely wasn't because he felt too embarrassed that he didn't say it. But other than the birth of the Ghost King, what else could have caused such a change in heaven and earth? Shiqiu was at a loss. In any case, it has nothing to do with the Ghost King. Don't worry, I will take care of the soul-devouring gonfalon. Suddenly, he wasn't worried about the soul-devouring gonfalon anymore. He raised his head to look at the banner in the sky again. He formed a hand seal and retrieved the banner. On a closer look, apart from the array formation that was so broken that it could not be seen clearly, there was nothing special about it. Hey Shining. He turned his head and nudged the sleepy person beside him. Isn't this banner sent by your chef, Pui, your disciple? Do you know what the array formation on it is? Shining looked confused. She took the banner and asked, what does array formation mean? Array formation is... Wait. Lone Moon was about to explain when his eyes suddenly widened as he looked at her hand. This banner is moving? He saw that the banner, which had not moved for a few days, suddenly shook and swayed in Xinying's hand, as if it was suddenly blown about by a strong wind. Xinying, what did you do? I didn't do anything. Xinying raised the banner curiously. Why is it dripping water? Has it been soaked in water? She saw that the banner was suddenly soaked and water was dripping out. Don't move. Lone Moon hurriedly held her hand. Listen, there seems to be a sound. There was a sudden silence. Sure enough, a small sound rang out in the room. It was extremely soft, as if it was deliberately suppressed. Intermittent sounds slid across the room. Ing-ing, ing-ing, ing-ing. Why did he feel that this sound was so much like crying? Undersir, not good, it's the Ghost King's sound attack. Shiqiu immediately jumped back and shouted to the people in the room as if facing a formidable enemy. Quick, set up the barrier. The other 4 hall masters tensed up and also took a step back. One by one, they lit up a circle of golden defensive barriers around them. Shiqiu explained as he formed a seal, the Ghost King's sound attacked the primordial spirit directly. This sound is no small matter. The other hall masters also voiced their support. I didn't expect this banner to really have a Ghost King. Uncle Master, be careful. Uncle Master, quickly put the banner back into the array. We cannot let the Ghost King's sound spread out. Yes, Uncle Master. Although you are a soul formation cultivator, you cannot be careless. Let's use the barrier. The sound attack will only get stronger. It's fine now, but it will be too late in a while. Uncle Master. Uncle Master. And? Sure enough, the sound inside was getting louder and louder. Compared to before, it was almost inaudible, but now it was a little ear-piercing. The entire hall was filled with the Ghost King inside the banner. Its voice was full of emotion, full of joy, and it was letting itself go. Ing, shining, lone moon. This was the sound of crying, right? This was definitely the sound of crying. Wait a minute. The water on the banner just now, could it be tears? The tears of the Ghost King. Suddenly he heard a ding sound. It was the sound of something being connected. An absurd idea suddenly appeared in his mind. He turned his head stiffly to look at the person beside him. What did you do to the Ghost King? The other person tilted her head blankly. What's a Ghost King? Had she seen one before? As soon as he finished speaking, the sound of crying inside the banner became even more heart-wrenching. Droplets of water flowed out of the banner. Shining looked at the black banner in disdain. She could not just throw away something that was given to her. She narrowed her eyes and said, "So noisy. If you want to howl, come out and howl." Suddenly, a huge black gas bounced out of the banner. It's coming out. And it was the kind that rolled out in a ball. The black gas landed on the ground and took shape. It was more than 100 feet tall. It had a green face and sharp fangs. It had a bloody mouth and huge blood-red eyes that looked like they could suck people's souls. It looked terrifying. If only it wasn't kneeling on the ground. The Ghost King knelt on both knees. Its sharp claws were pressed against its legs and it knelt properly. Its huge head was buckled and in its blood-red eyes, 2 streams of unknown liquid flowed out. The sound was gone. Those huge fangs that could crush souls were biting its lower lip. It looked like it wanted to cry but did not dare to. Lone Moon, Shichio, all the hall masters, what the hell, was this ghost? The hall was silent for a whole 5 minutes. Only the sound of a certain ghost's tears falling to the ground could be heard. Uncle Master, indeed. Shichio was the first to regain his senses. He seemed to have thought of something as he looked at Lone Moon in surprise. This Ghost King was indeed chased out by you. The corner of Lone Moon's mouth twitched. What did it have to do with him? This was obviously Xin Ying's doing, all right? Uncle Master is right. I overestimated this Ghost King before. I didn't expect that under Uncle Master's suppression, it could not even stand up. No, I couldn't suppress it. It was not afraid of him at all, was it? Uncle Master, you don't have to be so humble. I am indebted to you for your help this time. It turns out that this Ghost King did not come out because it was too afraid of you. Are you all blind? Just as he was about to explain before he could finish, the ground suddenly shook. There was a faint surge of sword chi from all directions. The surrounding spirit chi began to surge wildly towards a certain direction outside the door. This spirit chi. Lone Moon turned to look at the person beside him. Shining, your chef, Apui Iching has succeeded in his epiphany. With that said, he pulled her out of the door. Quick, let's go take a look. Uncle Master, then this Ghost King? Shichio called out anxiously. Since it's already out, I'll leave it to you to purify. Lone Moon replied and instantly disappeared at the door. Shichio glanced at the Ghost King in the middle. Was it an illusion? Why did it feel like the Ghost King was relieved after Uncle Master left? Even its tears were not flowing now. Uncle Master was indeed amazing. Oh yes, beside Uncle Master just now, there seemed to be someone standing there. Do you know her? I've never seen her before. I heard Uncle Master call her Shin. Shin what? I didn't see clearly and don't know if it's a man or a woman. Forget it, it's not important. Activate the array. Chapter 19. Lone Moon brought Shining and flew directly towards the island. The closer they got, the thicker the sword chi became. Within a radius of 1.5 kilometers, the island was completely surrounded by sword chi. They could not go any further. They could only stop in midair and look at the island that was surrounded by strong sword chi and spirit chi. The spirit chi in the air became thicker and thicker. As if attracted by something, it mixed with sword chi and surged towards the island, as if it was about to become solid. Why aren't we moving? Shining reached out and poked the person in front of her. Do you want to die? He turned back and rolled his eyes. Don't you see the sky full of sword chi? If we go any closer we will be sliced into pieces. Sword chi? Shining tilted her head. What was that? When a sword cultivator has an epiphany, he will release all the sword chi in his body to understand the great Tao. At this time, the sword chi will not be controlled by his primordial spirit. It will attack anyone who comes near. What do you mean by, oh, and shaking your head at the same time? If you don't understand, just say it. I don't understand. *ck. He knew it. Loneman's mouth twitched. He looked her up and down. Didn't you say that you've been in this world for almost 4 months? Why don't you know anything? What have you been doing these few months? Shining thought for a moment and then said in detail, eating sweet potatoes, eating rabbit meat, eating carrots, and your pig feed. I asked you what do you know? I didn't ask you for a recipe. So you've been eating, and what the hell is pig feed? Believe it or not, I'm going to fall out with you. Forget it. You just need to know that in his current situation, unless he retracts the sword chi, we can only stop here. Oh. You should have said so earlier. This situation can't last long, at most 15 minutes or so. As soon as he finished speaking, the dense sword chi and spirit chi in the surroundings suddenly retracted. In less than a moment they completely returned to I Ching's body. A golden mark of a sword mark slowly appeared on his forehead. All right, his sword intent has been formed. Lone Moon heaved a sigh of relief. Just as he was about to fly over, there was a loud boom. A white bolt of lightning fell from the sky and struck the person below. The originally clear sky suddenly darkened. Clouds surged in the sky, and lightning flashed in the clouds as if something was brewing. Behind him, the peaks of the Black Heaven sect suddenly lit up with spots of light that condensed into a formation, forming a gigantic transparent barrier that enveloped the entire sect. Protective mountain formation. He looked up at the darkened sky. This is the nascent soul lightning tribulation. He actually formed his nascent soul directly. Holy shit, if it wasn't so fast. An epiphany had allowed him to jump from the golden core realm to the nascent soul realm. It was practically pole vaulting. As expected of the strongest sword immortal in the future. Sword immortal? Shining paused. Sword chi and sword immortal. What exactly was that? Stop pretending. Lone Moon rolled his eyes at her. Isn't that why you took him in as a disciple? Nope. TSK, you dare to say that you haven't read the book, Immortal Fate? He had a stop pretending expression on his face. Never seen it. How is that possible? If you didn't read the same book as me, how did you transmigrate? I slept through the night playing online games. When I woke up I was already here. A minute later. Holy shit. He took a step back, almost falling off his sword. He steadied himself, pointed at her and said, You really didn't transmigrate? Then why did you take I Ching in as a disciple? Because I was too lazy to dig a hole. What the hell? Shining tilted her head and thought for a moment. Then she added, he can cook. Why did he feel that this reason was not surprising at all? You really don't understand anything about this world. What should I understand? How did this fellow survive until now with a blank face? The corner of Loneman's mouth twitched. His expression changed a few times like a palette. After a while he took a deep breath and took out a fan dharma artifact. He threw it out and it turned into a huge fan. Then he pulled her up and sat her down. Now that we can't return to Black Heaven sect, let me give you some general knowledge. Otherwise you won't even know how you died. He cleared his throat and said, to put it simply, the world we are in is called the Azure World. The Azure World is divided into 3 big and small worlds. The Upper Azure World, the Middle Azure World and the Lower Azure World. The Upper Azure World has the densest spirit chi, followed by the Middle Azure World and the Lower Azure World. That's why most people in the Lower Azure World are mortals. There are very few immortal cultivators. Their cultivation is at most nascent soul. I heard that there are less than 10 nascent soul cultivators in the entire Lower Azure World. Gu Qing gestured the number 10 and continued, we are now in the Middle Azure World. There are less than 20 soul formation cultivators in the entire Middle Azure World. There are 3 sects and 6 schools in the Middle Azure World. Black Heaven sect is the leader of the 3 sects and 6 schools. We have 3 soul formation cultivators. Of course I am one of them. There are 8 other soul formation cultivators in the other 2 sects and 6 schools. Oh, what about the last one? The last one is the Upper Azure World. I have never been there before. I heard that the people there are not very friendly. Lone Moon frowned. It's different from our Middle Azure World. The top cultivators in that world are all from aristocratic families, not sections. The spirit chi there is the densest. I heard that nascent soul cultivators are everywhere and golden core cultivators are like dogs. Oh. Shining nodded. What spirit chi? Lone Moon felt his chest tighten. A mouthful of blood welled up in his throat. He took a deep breath to calm himself down. Calm down, calm down. She's still a newbie, albeit the perverted kind. Spirit chi is something that cultivators cannot lack in their cultivation. It's just like how humans need to eat. Cultivators can only increase their cultivation by breathing in the spirit chi of heaven and earth. All kinds of dharma spells and sword techniques rely on the circulation of spirit chi. Cultivators have different ways of cultivation. They are divided into dermic cultivation, sword cultivation, body cultivation, and so on. There are also those that focus on life skills. There are pill cultivators who refine pills, weapon cultivators who forge weapons, talisman cultivators who draw talismans, and so on. I Ching and I are both sword cultivators. The increase in cultivation is divided into several big realms. The beginning stage is called the chi refinement stage. After that are foundation establishment, golden core, nascent soul, and soul formation. In between the big realms there are 10 small realms. The first 3 are the early stage, the fourth 8 are the mid stage, the 8th and above are the late stage, and the 10th is the perfected. Then, what about after the soul formation stage? Above that, of course, is immortal ascension. He spread his hands and said, I heard that one can only ascend to immortal ascension in the upper azure world. I'm not sure about the specifics. Maybe when I perfected the soul formation stage I'll go to the upper azure world to take a look. Oh. So there really are immortals in this world. Interesting. This is all common knowledge in this world. I don't know how you've survived for so long and yet you don't know. Lone Moon once again despised her ignorance. What else do you want to ask? On account of us being from the same hometown, I'll help you again. I only have one question. Speak. What exactly is written in that novel that you read? Chapter 20. It had been more than 300 years since Lone Moon transmigrated to this immortal cultivation world. It had been such a long time that he had almost forgotten the world he used to live in. It was only when he realized that he had transmigrated into a book that those distant memories slowly surfaced. He remembered that the book belonged to his 16-year-old niece. The little girl had been quiet and did not speak much since she was young. She was like a little princess. There was a period of time when she was hugging that book and reading it more than once. Out of curiosity he glanced at it. It was a novel read by a little girl. Naturally it was not very profound. It was nothing more than you love me, I love you, love each other, life and death type. He had always scoffed at such brainless novels. However, some of the descriptions in this book were really unique. Unknowingly he finished reading it. After so many years, although the details were not very clear, he still had a general impression of the plot. And I Ching was a character in this book. He was the kind of person who was crazy, cool, and awesome. When he first appeared, he was already the #1 sword immortal of the 3 realms. He was a person who could really sweep the 3 realms. Although he knew the plot, he realized that he was still very far away from the development of the plot in the book. As a fellow sword cultivator, he could not help but be curious about sword immortals. He originally thought that if he really met one, it would probably be after he ascended to become an immortal. He did not expect that he would meet one so soon. Moreover, it was before he became a sword immortal. At that moment he was very excited. He almost did not hesitate to make the decision to suck up to someone powerful in advance. He even thought of the best plan. He invested in the most stable relationship in the immortal cultivation world. Master and disciple to get closer. The master of a sword immortal. What an awesome and safe identity. It could not be more wonderful. However, he did not expect that this perfect plan would be intercepted by someone else. And the other party was the same kind of person who transmigrated like him. To be honest, at the beginning he really hated this girl with the surname Shin. He did not even care about his usual gentlemanly demeanor and wanted to snatch her away from her. In terms of strength, cultivation, and opportunities he did not lose to her at all. Since the beginning of immortal cultivation, everything had been smooth sailing. He could practically be called a RMB player who transmigrated. However, he did not expect that although he had reloaded his RMB account, the other party would use a cheat. That sword on the island not only split the sea, but also his fragile self-esteem. Motherf ** Ker, this cheat is 2F ** King bullying RMB. Logically speaking, he should hate her even more, but perhaps he had stayed in this world for too long, or perhaps he missed his hometown too much, or perhaps he was tired of this group of ignorant people who never spoke properly. Anyway, by the time she reacted, he was already in the kitchen. TT, apart from Shining, who else could he say these things to? Who else could he say them to? Who could he say them to? Who could he say them to? Who could he say them to? Taking 10,000 steps back, in a situation where there was no GM, it would be better to have these cheats as friends than as opponents. Therefore, it was the basic duty of a family member to spread the knowledge of this world. As a transmigrator, he naturally assumed that the other party was the same as him, having read the book and knowing the plot before coming over. However, he had miscalculated once again. For all, Ngungruo flips table. Isn't this AF * King Book world? Why were other people's transmigration methods completely different? Why were all the things that should be taken for granted when it came to Shining? Was she AF * King cheat or a bug? More importantly, he had just popularized a bunch of common knowledge. Why did she go back to the original question? What did you hear just now? Did you hear it at all? What exactly is this book? Loneman's expression stiffened. Suddenly, he recalled the description in the book and felt his heart stop for a moment, unable to go up or down. Novel? Forget it, forget it. The corner of his mouth twitched as he reluctantly squeezed out a few words. Oh. Shining nodded. What's written? That's my niece's book. What else can a little girl read? He harumphed. Isn't it about men and women? Romance novel? I don't think so. His face reddened and he anxiously glared at her. Why are you asking so clearly anyway? It has nothing to do with you. It's not a romance novel, is it? Nonsense, nonsense, there's not much. How much? 4 or 5 chapters. Hey, I already said it's not a romance novel. I get it. Why are you looking at me like that? Lone Moon instantly exploded from the fan. What exactly did she understand? I already said that's my niece's book, I didn't buy it. What do you mean by that look? Do I look like someone who buys porn? Shining understood and patted his shoulder. I understand, we're all adults. What do you know? It's really not a porn novel, I just flipped through a few pages by accident, I didn't read it in detail. Although the colorful passages did leave a deep impression, it was definitely not because of that he remembered the book. How would I know that little girls nowadays would actually like to read such things? I never read it. One book is equivalent to 300 years. Luckily your niece didn't read a romance novel. Otherwise, who knows what would have happened. Shining. Can I still play? Master? Lone Moon was about to flip out when a familiar voice sounded. He did not know when I Ching had already finished dealing with the lightning tribulation and flew up. Lone Moon then realized that the tribulation clouds in the sky had already dissipated, and the surroundings were bright again. Even the Black Heaven Sect's protective mountain array had disappeared. And I Ching's body was emitting the suppressive force of a nascent soul, especially the mark of sword intent between his brows. One could feel sword chi seeping out just by looking at it. He had indeed succeeded in forming his nascent soul, and now he was a nascent soul sword cultivator. You're done? Shining glanced at him. Yes, your disciple has successfully formed his nascent soul. I Ching bowed, his tone filled with unconcealable excitement. He did not expect that an epiphany would allow him to directly ascend to the nascent soul realm, and that it would go so smoothly. All this was thanks to Master's guidance. You really had a good master. Thank you, Master, for protecting me here. Protecting? Did he? The corner of Loneman's mouth twitched. Please, those array formations were set up by him, alright? What happened to his strong sense of spirit chi? Are you blind, sword immortal? Congratulations, perfected I Ching, for successfully forming your nascent soul. Alright, you're my backer, I'll bear with it. Supremacy. I Ching turned back and nodded at him with cupped fists. Compared to the former, he was more polite and not close enough. As expected, it was still not balanced. Shining. Is there anything to eat? Shining suddenly asked. The corner of Loneman's mouth twitched. Are you a freaking rice bucket? You only remember to eat. For all. Wait a moment, Master. Holy shit, you really do have it? Zero Qi Ching walked up to the fan and habitually opened the storage bag beside him. As if by magic, he took out osmanthus cakes, lotus cakes, fish slices, golden milk cakes, small heavenly cakes. What happened to being a sword immortal? Why did you carry so many cakes with you? You're a damn chef. Eat, don't stand on ceremony. Shining pushed his hand and pointed to the cakes all over the fan. Lone Moon, for all, For all, Flip's table, who the hell wants to eat with you? Give me back my sword immortal. Chapter 21. Master. I Ching glanced at the person beside him, hesitated, and still could not help but ask, "What are you discussing with supremacy? Did I offend him?" Could it be that Lone Moon still had evil intentions towards Master and wanted to be her disciple? Oh, it's nothing. The person who was desperately stuffing pastries into her mouth replied, swallowed the cake in her mouth and replied casually, "Something about the past in the village." I see. I Ching glanced at Lone Moon. Although Master and Supremacy came from the same place, did you know each other before? No. Shining shook her head, looked at Lone Moon and asked casually, "Oh yes, what did you do in the past?" "I was in the internet." Lone Moon answered, "Was it an illusion? Why did he feel that the sword immortal was hostile towards him?" "I opened my own company in the past, supporting a bunch of people. It was quite tiring." "Oh yes, I was not called Lone Moon before. After immortal cultivation they said to give me a Taoist name, that's why." "Oh, then what's your name?" "My surname was Nyo Huayan." Just as he finished speaking, half a piece of osmanthus cake was sprayed towards him. He was not paying attention and was hit in the face. "Aren't you disgusting?" Lone Moon glared at him and immediately cast a dirt removal spell on himself. "You're the CEO of YY Group." Xinying's eyes widened, a big shot. "The richest man in country Z? Father Nyo? Get lost. I don't have a daughter like you." Lone Moon's mouth twitched, he could not help but roll his eyes. Now only she would be surprised by the name Nyo Huayan. Xining was really shocked. She sized him up from head to toe, a real CEO, the kind that could talk. She suddenly wanted to borrow money from him. "What are you doing?" Lone Moon took a step back with lingering fear. Why did he feel like he was about to be robbed? "What is Chowei? Laundry Gull?" I Ching was confused. "Master has heard of him before?" "Sort of." Xining picked up another piece of cake and sat back down. "He is the richest man in the village, the kind that oozes oil. Everyone wanted to call him Daddy." "I see." I Ching nodded. "So supremacies had such experiences before they became immortal cultivators. What about Master? Heir?" Shen Ying's hand froze and her face twitched imperceptibly. She paused for a moment before saying, "Well, I'm a family person. I feel that money is just a worldly possession. The most important thing at home is to be filial to my parents. As the saying goes, when one's parents are around, one should not travel far. Therefore, I wholeheartedly serve the two elders at home." Eh. The corner of Lone Moon's mouth twitched. "So be it. Can you not say it so openly? Have some shame." "I see." I Ching's eyes lit up and he said excitedly, "Master is indeed a person who values friendship and righteousness." "Hey, wake up. She's obviously tricking you. It's a pity that I'm an orphan. Otherwise, I would be like Master, cultivating to become an immortal and not forgetting the kindness of my parents. What's there to learn about living off your parents? Is there a hole in your brain?" "Good student. Thank you for your teachings, Master." Lone Moon. "It's over. This fellow is already a brainless fan. I'm almost done." Shining touched her belly and said seriously, "Why don't we go back and cook?" Lone Moon, still eating? "Are you a pig?" "Yes, Master." I Ching immediately turned around and rode on his sword. He did not forget to ask as he flew, "Master, what do you want to eat?" "Meat. Lots and lots of meat." "Yes, Master." "No problem, Master." Lone Moon, damn it. I don't want to play with this pair of retards anymore. I Ching was indeed a professional. In less than 20 minutes, a table of rich and varied dishes filled the whole table, including the time to go to the outer sect to collect the ingredients. All the dishes looked and smelled good. Lone Moon suddenly understood why Shining said that he made pig swill. As a sword cultivator, where did he learn this skill from? Lone Moon originally wanted to be thick-skinned and try out the taste. Unfortunately, he did not succeed in the end. Shichio suddenly rushed over. He thought that he was representing the sect to congratulate I Ching on his successful nascent soul formation. Instead, he bowed to him and said with a serious face, "Uncle Master, something big has happened." "What's the matter? Why are you in such a hurry?" Shichio had been the sect master for 200 years. This was the first time he saw him so serious that he even specially came to invite him. "I can't explain it clearly. Uncle Master, you will understand when you follow me to Elixir Peak." His face became even more serious. He turned to look at I Ching and continued to say with cupped fists, "Congratulations to fellow Taoist E for successfully forming your nascent soul. This matter is of great importance. Perfected Yi, come along too. Perfected Yi's nascent soul formation ceremony will probably be delayed for some time. I Ching nodded. He was now considered a member of the Black Heaven sect. Naturally, he had to go and take a look when the sect was in trouble. So he said goodbye to Shining and followed Shichio to a floating peak on the right that was filled with the fragrance of elixirs. The three of them flew straight to the back of the palace on the peak. Before they landed, I Ching faintly sensed a strange aura in the air. He paused and frowned. There's Chi of a fiendish cultivator here. Perfected Yi is really sharp. Shichio pushed open the door in front of him. A fiendish cultivator has indeed been here. The two of them looked inside and their eyes widened. There was an isolation array in the room, but inside the array, there was a blood-red light. Glaring red liquid was smeared all over the room. The table, the floor and the walls were all stained red. There was also some unknown blood paste on them. A naked man was lying in the middle of the room. He was no longer breathing. His face was particularly hideous and his eyes were wide open, as if he had experienced something extremely terrifying before his death. His mouth was already a bloody paste and his tongue was missing. One of his upper body's hands was still stuck in the floor tiles, and the other hand was stiff, probably because he struggled desperately before he died. The lower half of his body had completely disappeared, leaving only half of his corpse. This is... I Ching's frown deepened. Indeed, only a fiendish cultivator could do such a cruel thing. Moreover, there was no aura of a soul in this corpse. Either his primordial spirit had escaped, or his soul had dispersed. It's the Hall Master of Elixir Peak, Perfected Yu Ding. An echo came from inside the room. It was one of the other Hall Masters who had arrived earlier. The 10 Hall Masters of Shantian Heaven were all present and were checking the situation inside the room. I wonder which fiendish cultivator dared to be so ruthless. He dared to break into Shantian sect and kill the perfected nascent soul without anyone knowing. He must be someone with at least a nascent soul cultivation, Shichio added. Not only that, this person is probably very familiar with the matters of our sect. Shichin said fiercely, the life tokens of our Shantian sect's Hall Masters are connected to the sect. If they are hurt in the sect, it will directly trigger the protective mountain array and trap the murderer inside. This person deliberately chose to kill Perfected Yu Ding when Perfected Yi was undergoing tribulation to form his nascent soul. The protective mountain array withstood the aftermath of the tribulation lightning and automatically activated. No one noticed it so that he could kill Perfected Yu Ding. Indeed. The weapon forging peak hall master also nodded. It takes half a month for the protective mountain array to be activated a second time. She did it on purpose. Sect master, other than the protective mountain array, is there any way to seal off the entire Shantian sect? I Ching suddenly asked. There is, Shichio answered. He suddenly understood what he meant and looked back at him in shock. Perfected Yi, you mean could it be? I Ching nodded. The yin chi here has not completely dissipated. The fiendish cultivator should have left less than half an hour ago, that is to say, that fiendish cultivator is still in Shantian sect. Yes. Everyone's expression suddenly changed. Shichio immediately turned around and called a disciple over. He shouted, Go ring the bell of the main peak, seal all the exits of Shantian sect, and capture the fiendish cultivator. The disciple immediately flew away with the order. In a short while, the bell rang throughout the entire Shantian sect and all the teleportation arrays were closed. Perfected Yi, I heard that you have been exterminating fiends for a long time and are most familiar with the yin chi of the fiendish cultivator. Could you please search the entire sect and find that fiendish cultivator? Shichio asked in a low voice. I Ching did not refuse and nodded. I am duty-bound to do so. With that said, he released his divine perception and began to sense the aura of the fiendish cultivator. At this time in Yuan Peak, a certain someone who was focused on eating, suddenly heard a clang. A bloody, unknown creature fell from the sky and landed on her table. One of its hands was still in the bowl of soup. Falling from the sky, is this the usual way of making an appearance in this world? Fortunately, the dishes were already finished. She glanced at the bloody person lying on the dining table, then looked at the remaining half bowl of rice in her hand. She subconsciously handed it over. Want a bowl? The person. Chapter 22. As a former itinerant cultivator, I Ching had dealt with many fiendish cultivators and was very familiar with their aura. However, the other party was able to sneak into Black Heaven sect and kill a perfected nascent soul. Even though he was very sensitive to spirit qi, it took him a whole hour to find traces of yin qi. The strange thing was that this aura did not appear at any of the exits but at the bottom of Inyuan Peak not far away. He led the hall masters all the way back to the hut where he lived. Before he got close, he could faintly smell the strong smell of blood. His heart tightened and he quickly walked in. He saw that the stone table in the courtyard was in a mess. The dishes on the table were broken and the vegetable juice mixed with blood flowed all over the table. This is... Shichio was also shocked. What happened? Where is Shening? Lone Moon looked around but did not see her. I Ching quickly walked into the house and looked around but did not find her. He turned to the stone table covered with blood and pinched a hand seal. Suddenly, the whole stone table lit up and an image slowly appeared in the air. It was the scene from an hour ago. A familiar figure was focused on eating. If not for the fact that the food on the table was visibly decreasing, the whole image seemed to be playing on loop. Only when the dishes on the table were all empty did the image change. A person covered in blood suddenly fell down. Dressed in red, her hair was messy and her face was half smeared with blood, but one could faintly see that she was a stunning woman. Fiendish cultivator. Shichio blurted out. He took a step forward and carefully stared at the image. Suddenly, he seemed to think of something and murmured, "A female fiendish cultivator at the nascent soul stage, dressed in red, could it be Chichinyu?" The female fiendish cultivator in the image was seriously injured. He did not know what she said to the person at the table, but she suddenly grabbed the neck of the person who was still holding the bowl and flew southwest. Seeing this, I Ching's eyes widened. "Master." He immediately turned and chased in the southwest direction. Wait. Lone Moon did not have time to stop him. The other party was already gone. He had no choice but to chase on his sword, but the other party flew very fast. He only caught up with her after chasing for a long time. I Ching, calm down. The Black Heaven sect had already been sealed. It would not be too late to give chase after them after investigating the situation of the fiendish cultivator. Shining wouldn't have. Wait a minute. With her abnormal strength, the one who should be worried should be the devil cultivator, right? Why are you so anxious? I know Master will be fine. I Ching did not stop. Instead, he flew even faster. I'm worried that Master will go out alone. So. He suddenly turned around and said with certainty, "She will never be able to find her way back." Shit. It turned out that not only was that guy a foodie, but he also had king poor sense of direction. Speaking of which, why did you have to take things too hard and become his disciple? Speaking of which, how did she fall into the hands of that fiendish cultivator? There was no sound in the video, so it was hard to tell what the fiendish cultivator had said. Based on my understanding of Master. I Ching frowned and hesitated for a while before saying, "It's not that she can't defeat that fiendish cultivator." What's that? Master is just too lazy to resist. For all, Ngunguro, this kind of swindler should just die of laziness. Chi Chingyu struggled to fly out of the Black Heaven sect's perimeter. She was seriously injured. Even her nascent soul was on the verge of collapsing, and all the meridians in her body were damaged beyond recognition. Old thief Yuding was indeed cunning. Even though she had plotted for so many years, she had finally waited for this opportunity. She did not expect to be tricked by him before she died. Her body could not hold on any longer. If she did not regulate her breathing, she would lose her life. She had no choice but to find a secluded spot and stop. Only then did she let go of the person in her hands and push her away. She did not know if it was because of her injuries, but she did not push her away. Instead, she took 2 steps back. She desperately suppressed the blood rushing up her heart and looked at the person in a low voice. "Seeing that you're obedient, let's go. I won't kill you." The bell had already rung. The Black Heaven sect had already discovered what she had done. All the exits had been sealed, so it would be very difficult for her to break out. She had originally wanted to grab a hostage and try her luck. She did not expect her luck to be so good. She grabbed the person and walked out of the mountain gate. Not only did no one stop her, even when they met the patrolling guards, they avoided them as if they could not see them. It seemed that even the heavens were helping her, allowing her to avenge this blood feud. She raised her hand to conjure a spell to release the restraints on the person's body. The moment she activated her spirit chi, she felt a sharp pain in her meridians again. Blood chi surged out, but she suppressed it and shouted angrily, "Hurry up and leave before I change my mind." The person on the other side was stunned for a moment, then nodded and replied, "Oh." With that he turned and left. Seeing that the person was far away, Qi sat down cross-legged and began to regulate her meridians. She had just circulated her spirit qi for a full cycle. A familiar female voice suddenly rang in her ears. "Sister, do you still remember which direction we came from?" Qi jumped in fright. The spirit qi in her body almost went astray. She suppressed the blood in her mouth and looked up to glare at the woman. Was this person courting death? Did she really think that she would not kill her? She took a deep breath and suppressed the anger in her heart. Pointing to the right, she said, "That way." "Oh, thank you." The other party nodded and smiled back, then walked away in the direction she was pointing. Qi closed her eyes again and continued to regulate her breathing. She had just completed half a cycle. "Sister, are you sure it's this way?" The familiar voice sounded again. "There is only a river there, there is no sea. After that river and through the forest is the sea." "Oh, thank you. If you come back one more time, I will really kill you." Seeing that the other party had left, she simply changed to another spot to regulate her breathing. However, 10 minutes later, "Sister, I can't find that river." Qi clenched her fists and almost threw a heart-devouring art at the woman. "Are you courting death? I told you to go right. Go right. Do you know the way or not?" "I don't want to," she replied calmly. Wasn't she lost? "You." She took a few deep breaths to suppress the urge to kill. Pointing forcefully in a direction, she said, "If you dare come back one more time, I will pull out your bones to refine your soul. Over there. Oh, remember?" With that, she turned and walked away again. Another 10 minutes later, "Sister, if you dare to ask for directions again, I will kill you right now." Qi threw a fireball at the woman, burning a pit half a meter wide. "That's not it." The other party blinked innocently and shook her head. "I just saw that it was getting late, so I decided not to go." With that said, she pulled out 2 colorful wild chickens from behind her. "Sister, do you know how to roast chickens?" Qi. Chapter 23. A deep sense of helplessness rose in Qi heart as she sized up the person in front of her. How on earth did you survive until now? How could such a careless person enter the Black Heaven sect? Were the people in the sect blind? She once again probed the spirit qi around the other party. "You're actually immortal." She had thought that she could not detect her cultivation level because she was heavily injured. She did not expect that she really was immortal without any spirit qi. Even the maidservants of the Black Heaven sect had cultivation levels, yet she did not have any spirit qi. It seemed that she was born without a spirit root. Being in a top-notch sect full of proud sons and daughters, yet unable to cultivate, she was a pitiful person. Qi anger dissipated significantly, but the other party did not seem to care much about it. Instead, she began to pluck the feathers out of the chicken. For a moment, the ground was covered in colorful feathers, reflecting the rising moonlight, as if a layer of colorful light had been sprinkled on the ground. No, the feathers were really glowing. "Sigma, degree winky face. Wait." She quickly grabbed the other party's feather-plucking hand and took a closer look at the 2 chickens. Her eyes widened. This is a 5th-level spirit beast, Jin Wan. Where did you find it?" "By the river." Shining raised her hand and pointed to the left, then thought for a moment and changed to the right. Qi expression became even more strange. She did not look like she could kill a 5th-level spirit beast. Could it be that someone had hunted the beast and left it by the river? She was really lucky. "What is a spirit beast? Isn't this a chicken demon?" Shining asked, waving the chicken in her hand. "How do you not even know this?" Qi looked at her in surprise and explained, "Demons are demons, beasts are beasts. Demons are originally livestock, but once they gain sentience they become demons. They can cultivate divine powers and transform into human forms. Beasts are born extraordinary but they do not have sentience. Only by cultivating to a high level can they transform into human forms." "Oh." She nodded. No wonder this little animal did not speak the human language. "Then can it be eaten?" The corner of Qi mouth twitched. Was this the point? Thinking about it, she was just a mortal and needed to eat. Thus, he made a hand seal and ignited a ball of fire on the ground. The meat of a spiritual beast contains foul air. You can only eat it after refining it with spiritual fire. After saying that, he directly took over the spiritual beast whose fur had already been plucked from her hands and roasted it over the fire. "Shining, be good and wait for your food." Omega, Qi first refined the turbid qi in the demon beast's head before using her spiritualized blade to cut it open. Indeed, she found a shiny blue pearl inside. It was a thumb-sized 5th-level beast core, and it was of the water element. He could not help but lament the luck of this mortal once again. He was able to pick up the corpse of a rank 5 spirit beast just by walking around. Furthermore, the person who killed this spirit beast did not take away the beast core. She directly took out the beast core. Such a complete inner core was very rare. She threw it to the person beside her. Catch it. Keep it well. Shining caught it and glanced at it. Then she tossed it back. I don't want it. You can have it. You want to give it to me? Qi Qingyu stared at her in disbelief. She was just short of writing the words, "Are you stupid?" on her face. Don't worry. I promise to let you go and I won't go back on my word. Although this is a 5th-level water element spirit beast core, it is a divine healing medicine. Since you picked up this spirit beast, it is destined to be yours. I don't want to snatch away other people's opportunities. No need. She had a lot of beads. Qi Qingyu thought that Xining did not understand the benefits of this item. She could not help but add, although you are immortal, a 5th-level beast core is hard to come by. You will definitely be able to exchange it for a lot of benefits. Oh, then I'll give it to you. She would take it as the labor fee for roasting the chicken. Is the chicken cooked? You? Qi Qingyu clenched her fists and looked at Xining with a complicated expression. Was Xining giving her the beast core to heal her? What? She had clearly held Xining hostage, yet she wanted to help an enemy? I am a fiendish cultivator. Xining could not help but remind her. Ah. Xining turned to look at Xining. Her brows immediately furrowed in hesitation. Qi Qingyu's heart turned cold, but she heard Xining ask seriously, "Can't fiendish cultivators roast chicken?" What? Qi Qingyu was stunned. She nodded reflexively. Yes. Oh, then let's continue. Continue? Continue what? Are you sure just like this? Give it to her? Without any conditions. What else? Did you bring cumin? I didn't know that you were such a particular chef, girl. No. Oh, then just the original taste. Disappointment. Qi Qingyu's heart clenched. Hey, what are you talking about? This mortal really had the ability to lead people astray. But for some reason, she could not bring herself to lose her temper. Instead, she unknowingly increased the intensity of the spirit fire. Her heart also began to feel strange, sour and bitter. Really? Xining really wanted to give the beast core to her, even if she was the fiendish cultivator who held her hostage. Just because she saw that she was seriously injured? How could there be such a stupid person in this world? So stupid that she actually wanted to protect her. Qi Qingyu clenched her fists. She wanted to say something but did not know what to say. In the end, she could only snort coldly. Humph, with that temper of yours, you will be betrayed sooner or later. With that said, she stuffed the roasted chicken into Xinying's arms. Here, eat quickly. By the way, what's your name? Xining. She answered as she ate, not forgetting to stuff the remaining chicken into Xinying's hands. This one, continue. You're quite skilled at ordering people around. One is not enough. Aren't you afraid of bursting to death? She grumbled but still took it. How long had it been? How long had it been since she had spoken to someone so calmly? There was no fear in Xinying's eyes, no hatred, no disgusting greed. My name is Qi Qingyu and I can be considered a fiend supremacy. I find you quite pleasing to the eye. If you can't survive in Black Heaven sect in the future, remember to come to Mingyin Mountain to look for me. Maybe you can live a little longer. Such a stupid person, would she die if no one looked after her? Yes. Xining ate the chicken seriously. I just killed that hypocrite Yu Ding. If you go back unscathed tomorrow, Black Heaven sect will definitely suspect you. She glanced at Xining, a trace of worry flashing across her eyes. You'd better delay your return for a few days. If they ask, you can tell them the truth. The one who killed that old thief Yu Ding was me, poison spirit Qi Qingyu. Eating chicken. But you don't have to tell them about the beast core you gave me. She twirled the blue bead in her hand. These so-called righteous sects have always been full of themselves. They have many despicable methods. Don't be stupid and insist. If you're really afraid of letting the cat out of the bag, just say that I stole this bead. Anyway, she did not care about being accused of killing and stealing. Delicious. Something really happens, just betray the sect and run. What righteous immortal sect? Is not a clean place. If they really want to avenge that old thief Yu Ding, they can just invite the other sects to attack my Mingyin Mountain. She laughed coldly. As if thinking of something, her eyes slowly turned blood red. Her hands subconsciously gripped her clothes. I want to ask these righteous sects, why can't I avenge you Ding for destroying my primordial body 500 years ago, destroying 100 years of my cultivation and imprisoning me in the dungeon as a human cauldron? Shining finally stopped eating and slowly raised her head to look at Shining. Why are you looking at me like that? What? You don't believe that a hall master of a sect would do such a thing? No? I just want to ask, is the other chicken cooked? She regretted killing this glutton just now. Oh, dish winky face oh. Chapter 24. Qingyu used the beast core to regulate her breathing for an entire night before her meridians recovered by 10 to 20%. In order to avoid being tracked by the Black Heaven sect, she had deliberately chosen a place with thin spirit qi. This had caused her injuries to heal too slowly, but fortunately they would not continue to worsen. Perhaps she would be able to return to Mingyin Mountain at night. The only thing that worried her was, what about Shining? She did not seem to know the way. If she returned to Mingyin Mountain alone, would she starve to death? Did she kidnap a hostage or a burden for him? I say Shining. Qingyu was just about to speak when she heard the sound of rushing wind. Her heart tightened, she grabbed the person and retreated 10 feet away. The next moment, a sharp sword overflowing with yin qi stabbed into the ground where she had been standing. Who's there? Come out. She turned to look at the trees on her right. Not long after, 2 black figures slowly walked out from inside, both dressed in gray robes. The one walking in front chuckled, revealing half of his skinny face. So it's demon sovereign impermanence here. By how sorry to disturb you. By how? Your blood fiend Yu Yan's guardian. Qingyu's expression tightened as she looked at the 2 people with ill intentions. So Fiend Supremacy knows me. The person chuckled. That's right, Fiend Supremacy Yu Yan is our master. Why are Yu Yan's people looking for me? I heard that Fiend Supremacy Impermanence is a peerless beauty. Back when she was cultivating, she was the #1 beauty of the 3 sects and 6 schools, and people called her Fairy Yu. The 2 of us have always admired your elegance. Now that we are passing by, we specially came to pay our respects. Humph, don't play this game with me. Tell me your purpose. Fiend Supremacy, you misunderstand me? Bai Hao's smile grew colder. Just as he was about to explain, the person beside him could not help but interrupt. Senior brother, don't talk nonsense with her. Look at her, she is obviously seriously injured. Even if we want to do anything, what can she do to us? The person looked straight at Qingyu, his eyes burning as if he wanted to swallow her whole. I heard that she has a rare purine body. Dual cultivation with her can greatly increase one's cultivation. In the past, she was a nascent soul supremacy and we could not touch her. Now that she is seriously injured, what are you waiting for? Hurry up and pluck her. Junior brother Rennie, she's such a beauty. Why don't you know how to cherish her? Are you going up or not? If you're not going up, then I'm going to start plucking. This is a nascent soul. After plucking her, I can also form my nascent soul. After he finished speaking, he even swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Shameless. Qingyu gritted her teeth in anger. She wanted to activate her spirit qi to form a hand seal, but she felt a sharp pain in her chest, as if thousands of swords had pierced her heart. She could not move at all. Heart-scorching array you, ha ha ha. How could we not make some preparations in order to have a good time with the Demon Lord? He had already set up the formation the moment he came out. Bai Hao walked over quickly. His eyes swept across her body unscrupulously. The greed and desire in his eyes were about to overflow. Fiend Supremacy Impermanence, don't worry. Bai Hao isn't like those immortal cultivators. I don't have the habit of plucking people and giving them to others to play with. From today onwards, you only need to serve the 2 of us. As he spoke, he reached out towards her chest. Qingyu's eyes were bloodshot with hatred. Familiar scenes flashed before her eyes. Those nightmares that she thought she had gotten rid of were once again awakened. They replayed in her mind over and over again. It turned out that even if she had turned into a demon, she still could not escape. Her eyes were filled with despair. She watched as the hand came closer and closer. Suddenly, another hand grabbed the claw, and a cold and emotionless voice rang out. Perverted hands will be chopped off. Bai Hao was shocked. He did not realize that there was another person beside the Demon Lord. Upon closer inspection, he realized that the other person was just a mortal without any spirit qi. He heaved a sigh of relief. He wanted to retract his hand but found that he could not. There's another woman. Renyi, who was behind him, took a step forward. His lustful gaze shifted to Shining. Ah, that's great. Senior brother, this person belongs to me. Shining. Qingyu panicked and shouted, "Don't touch her." She had actually forgotten that she was still here. She had wanted to protect this young lady, but she did not expect that she would be implicated. She did not care what happened to her, but Shining was still a pure lady. She could not let her experience those disgusting things. She is just a mortal. She has nothing to do with me. If you dare to touch her, when my cultivation recovers, I will devour your bones and refine your souls. Humph, you can't even protect yourself and you still want to save her. Renyi did not take her threat to heart. Mortals really cannot be plucked. Why don't we turn them into puppets? With that said, he summoned his weapon and was about to conjure a hand seal. But Baihao suddenly shouted, "Stop! Senior brother?" Renyi was stunned. "Fiend Supremacy Impermanence, we have offended you today. Please forgive us, Fiend Supremacy." Baihao suddenly spoke respectfully. His eyes no longer had the smugness from before. Instead they were filled with fear. "Senior brother." Renyi looked in disbelief at this person who had suddenly changed his mind. "Shut up." Baihao turned back and glared at him, stopping him from speaking. He turned to Qingyu and said even more respectfully, "Baihao will personally go to Mingyin Mountain to ask for forgiveness from the Supremacy." With that said, he conjured a seal with one hand and undid the array on the ground. He took out a bottle of elixirs and handed it to her. The Supremacy's injuries are not light. As a fiendish cultivator we should be on the same side. Here is a bottle of 5th grade rejuvenation elixirs. Take it as an apology. Are you crazy? Renyi was even more shocked, but he was stopped by the other party's look. What do you want this time? Qingyu looked at the elixirs in his hand. I just want to form a good relationship with Fiend Supremacy Impermanence. He chuckled. As if afraid of being suspected, he ate one himself. I heard that the Supremacy has been looking for news of Gonzirwei from the Great Void Sect. I happen to hear that this person has been hiding on the Sword Comprehension Peak of the Great Void Sect. Are you speaking the truth? Qingyu was shocked. Her eyes turned red and filled with murderous intent. I dare not lie to the Supremacy. Qingyu gritted her teeth. As if recalling something, her eyes burned with hatred. She had been looking for so long. So he was hiding there. If the two of you have nothing else. Baihao looked up and said tentatively, "Can the two of us take our leave first?" Qingyu took a few deep breaths before she could suppress the anger in her heart. She took the elixir from his hand and said in a low voice, "Scram." With that, Baihao's hand loosened. He was overjoyed. Baihao will take his leave. With that said, he grabbed Renyi, who was full of complaints, and quickly flew away. In an instant, they disappeared as if they were being chased by evil spirits. Senior brother, what is the meaning of this? After flying for a distance of 50 kilometers, Renyi could no longer resist shaking off the other party. You actually let go of such a good opportunity. With our talents, if we miss this opportunity, we may never have the chance to form our nascent souls again. Baihao stopped, then suddenly hugged his right hand and knelt down. He opened his mouth and spat out a large mouthful of blood. His entire right hand hung on the ground at a strange angle. Senior brother? Renyi was shocked. He hurriedly grasped the meridian of his other hand and felt it. His eyes widened. Senior brother, your golden core. How can this be? When did you get so badly injured? If we had stayed a moment longer, not only would my golden core have shattered, we would have both died there. How is this possible? Renyi's face was full of shock. Unless Qingyu was faking it? She wasn't injured at all? It's not her, it's the other one. As if remembering something, he suddenly shuddered. The other one? You mean? Yes. He was a 5 elements trash spiritual root, yet he was able to safely reach the peak of Gold Core Realm and maintain a position among so many devils. It was all because of his superhuman acuity that he could always sense the arrival of danger at the first moment. And in the instant that the woman beside Qingyu grabbed him, he felt a terrifying murderous aura that he had never felt before. It was so overwhelming and airtight. In an instant, he felt that there was only one word left in his mind: death. He didn't even notice when his golden core was shattered. That person was too scary. But, isn't that a mortal? There was clearly no spirit chi. I'm not sure either. Baihao clenched his still trembling hands. But that person is definitely not simple. Remember, if you meet that person again, the further the better. Chapter 25. Do you see the cultivator city outside the forest? There is a transportation array to the Black Heaven sect in the city. Chichinyu pointed to the city in front of them. With the beast core and the elixirs Bai Hao had given her, her injuries were almost healed. She immediately left the dangerous forest, intending to return directly to Mingyin Mountain, but the news Bai Hao brought made her change her mind. It was obviously not suitable to bring Shening along. However, with her heaven-defying sense of direction, she could not bear to leave her behind. So she changed directions at the last minute and came to the vicinity of this immortal city. Alright, go on. You can enter the city if you go straight. Once you enter the city, follow the main street to the end and turn right. You will see the transportation array. Don't? Wait, where are you going? I said go straight, is that straight? No, why are you going to the right? The city gate is over there. Come back. Looking at the person who could not tell which direction to go after going around a tree, Chichinyu could not help but pull her back. Are you blind? Hey, look at the road. Do you want to go back or not? I guess? Shening tilted her head, still looking as carefree as ever. Chichinyu's mouth twitched. What the hell? Didn't they say that immortal sect disciples valued their sects the most? Wake up and look at the road, Chichinyu instructed again. After some thought, she took out a small bag of spirit stones from her storage bag and handed it to Shening. Take these and be careful on the road. Don't be silly and get cheated by others. Shening glanced at the heavy bag in her hands. Had she been smashed with money? I have important matters to attend to. I can't bring a burden like you along. We'll part ways here. Be careful. Why did she feel like she had accepted a breakup fee? She looked up at the person in front of her. Are you going to kill that gone guy? Yes, I'm going to. Chichinyu stopped mid-sentence, her eyes widening. How did you know? I can tell. Ever since that pervert revealed the news, she had not been able to focus on roasting the chicken these few days. Her skills had dropped greatly. That's right, I am indeed going to Sword Comprehension Peak. Her eyes darkened and she clenched her fists. After a long while, she finally suppressed the violence that was about to surge from the bottom of her heart. She smiled at her. Since you can guess all this, you should know that I might not be able to come back. You take care. Do you need help? Shening suddenly asked. She laughed. Help me? You're just a disciple of a sect, and you want to help a fiendish cultivator deal with a cultivator from a righteous sect? Sure. After all, he had received the money. Chichinyu was taken aback. It was only then that she realized that she was serious. Her eyes darkened. Why? I've only known you for a few days and you don't even know what grudges I have with that person, yet you choose to help me? After all, they had been eating roast chicken together for so many days. Grudges and whatnot I can roughly guess. She suddenly sat down on a withered tree beside her. Your fiendish cultivation has something to do with him, right? Using your brain was so troublesome. Chichinyu's expression darkened. She clenched her fists several times, as if she was desperately trying to suppress something. After a long while, she took a deep breath and glanced at Shening. She seemed to be trying to squeeze out a smile, but the corners of her mouth were full of bitterness. It seems that these few days you were not just focused on eating chicken. You listened to everything I said. Chichinyu sat down beside her. Her eyes seemed to be covered with a layer of dust, as if she was looking forward, but without focus. That's right, when my golden core was shattered, I was imprisoned in a secret chamber by Yuding as a human cauldron. Later I was given to others like a toy. It was all thanks to this person. The funny thing is, Chichinyu paused and her voice became even lower as if she was gritting her teeth. He is the master, who single-handedly brought me onto the path of immortality and taught me cultivation. She deliberately emphasized the last two words. Her eyes instantly turned red, and her face was full of a mocking smile. She said word by word, purine body. Just because he discovered that I had a so-called purine body, this master of mine destroyed 100 years of my cultivation and personally sent me to someone else's bed, watching me suffer humiliation for decades. If she had not hardened her heart to become a fiendish cultivator, perhaps she would still be in that hell now. I have been looking for him for hundreds of years, just to repay his master's kindness. Her expression became more and more solemn, as if she was immersed in something. A crazed look slowly appeared in her eyes. All these years I've killed all the people who humiliated me back then, but I couldn't find him. For 100 years I've been thinking day and night, if one day. Let's go. Shening suddenly spoke, interrupting her from her crazed thoughts. She stood up and said lazily, "I'll help you kill him." Yu was stunned, and her eyes softened for a moment. After a while she burst out laughing. "You? Forget it. Why don't you save your little life for a few more roasted pigs?" She was just a mortal, what could she do? What kind of place is Sword Comprehension Peak? It is the sacred land of the Great Void Sect, where soul formation supremacies go into seclusion. Not to mention that you are just a mortal, even a nascent soul cultivator does not have the right to enter. It was said that Sword Comprehension Peak was built by a top sect in the Upper Azure world, and was the only place from the Middle Azure world to the Upper Azure world. That is why among the 3 sects and 6 schools, only soul formation supremacies have the Jade token to enter, she said seriously. Unless you have the Jade token, otherwise, are you talking about this? Shening suddenly took out a white Jade token with the word, enlightenment written on it. How did you get this? Yu's eyes widened. Oh, it was temporarily, given to me by a fellow villager. The temporary chef had forgotten to take it back when he was showing it off to her. Yu took it in disbelief and flipped it to the left. The Jade token, it really was the Jade token of Sword Comprehension Peak. She probed it with her spirit chi and vaguely saw the word Lone Moon on it. But, this Jade token recognizes its owner. Without the owner's spirit artifact, it still cannot be activated. Is it this? She suddenly took out a white jade flute. Yu, the true knowledge stone in front of Sword Comprehension Peak, can recognize the intrinsic Dharma artifact of a soul formation supremacy. Will this work? She took out a fan. Yu, after a long time, for all, Flip's table? How many things have you taken from him? Can I ask a question? What enmity do you have with this supremacy Lone Moon? Why is his intrinsic Dharma artifact with you? Based on the way you took it, you might as well call the person over. I see. Shining nodded and turned to look behind her. What are you trying to do? Wait. The next moment, Xin Ying's figure suddenly flashed and disappeared on the spot. She suddenly had a bad feeling. 3 minutes later, the person you want. A man dressed in blue and white robes was pushed in front of her. Yu, Lone Moon, this works too, that you're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.